Hello and welcome to the Shea Hates Everything Podcast, where we talk about video games, movies, comics, and other shit that matters. My name is Shea, and today I hate that work has blocked GameInformer.com on my computer because that makes it really difficult to pull news stories for this podcast while I'm at lunch.
And my name is Kyle, and today I hate gossipy women at work. So both work-related.
Right. Yeah, I understand why they would block websites that would be time wasters, and anything related to video games is obviously not related to work. The problem is I typically eat lunch at my desk, and so I want to do my personal things while I'm at lunch. And it's like our internet. When I'm connected to our internet, it's a problem. It's just annoying. I guess not the end of the world, but it is quite annoying because typically, like the day before we record the podcast, while I'm at lunch, that's when I'll be pulling all the news stories and stuff and aggregating it so that I don't have to do it when I get home. But I can't do that anymore. And it's a bummer.
It's the patriarchy, something. Fight him. The man.
Fuck the man.
The patron, the men. Fight him.
It's that corporate, those corporate dudes.
The tech guys and the suits. It's the suits.
It's the tech suits.
You gotta fight them.
Rise up. Hashtag rise up. I'm pretty sure that's the Atlanta Falcons football team. Their slogan is rise up. So probably shouldn't tweet out like fuck the man, burn corporate life to the ground, hashtag rise up.
I don't think that's going to hit your target audience.
Right?
All these Atlanta Falcons
like,
Twitter profiles, like, are you okay?
Right. So who's gossiping?
All right.
Gossip about the gossipers.
So there's a really nice lady that I work with, but she's only nice sometimes.
Okay.
And like, cause she's like Stepford nice, in that like to your face,
right.
She's very sweet, very nice, but she just fucking complains all the time. And on my lunch break, I want to sit there and I want to read my book, and she will see me reading my book and then just go, "Oh, so this student did this thing," and I'm like, "I'm fucking reading."
That's the fucking worst, dude.
Okay,
I used to have a coworker that would do that as well.
If you are listening, if you see someone reading, you do not talk to that person unless it is an emergency. If there's like a piano,
they don't want to hear a story.
An Acme piano that's about to fall on their head, you say something. That's it. You leave them alone otherwise. Anyways, today we had a substitute in our room and this lady, and they were both just going on about this stupid, just bullshitty stuff about their kids' weddings that weren't the way they wanted them to be. So it was some horrible affront to them and all this. No, I'm not going to get into it anymore. It's over with. We're recording this on a Thursday. I have one more work day, and then it's the weekend, and I'm going to focus on that.
Yeah. That's a good segue, though, because we are recording on a Thursday. Typically, we record on Saturday or Sunday, post on Monday, but we're recording this a couple days early because I am going out of town this weekend. My wife and I are having our baby moon, like our last little trip before the baby comes and we can't do anything for 18 years.
Correct.
So we're going to Blue Ridge, which is in North Georgia, where we actually went there for a week for our honeymoon. We rented a cabin. It's up in the mountains. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. And we just fucking chilled out. And I think on our honeymoon, we did a couple major things. One, we went to a local spa, which we are doing again, and getting massages. My wife is going to get a prenatal massage, which seems weird, but hopefully it helps her relax. They're not getting in there in her stomach or her lady parts.
Not.
It's a special type of massage that is not as intense, I think. I don't know, but I think that's what it is.
Checks out.
We watched a shit ton of Game of Thrones because this was the first time she had ever watched Game of Thrones. And I guess, so this was 2014, so Game of Thrones was in season 3 or 4-ish. And so while we were there, we were on season 3. And Kyle, did you watch through season 3? You didn't, did you?
The Red Wedding, and then I was done.
That's what it was. And then I watched Red Wedding.
I watched a couple of random episodes. The one with where Joffrey,
that's
the
in
thing
season
happens
4.
to Joffrey.
Yeah.
I watched that episode too.
So this was the Red Wedding at the end of season 3. So we were right at that point, and that was like the big, obviously huge twist of that season and really of the show in general. And so I took a little like recorded video of her reaction watching that, because it was very much like a what the fuck is happening kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then she always liked to sleep in, and she still does, obviously, but back then especially she would sleep in all the time. And so while she was sleeping in, I played Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Nice.
So those were like the big things we did. And there's like it's downtown Blue Ridge. It's a cute little outdoor shopping thing. A lot of cute like local stores. There's a candle store that we really love that we always buy candles from. There's like an olive oil place where you can like taste their olive oils and their vinaigrettes and what's the like balsamic vinegar. Like they have a bunch of different flavors, you can taste them, and it's like a cool thing. So we usually go there like after lunch for a snack, so you just get like a bunch of little pieces of bread and you're just like getting free bread and oil as you're walking around, and then you buy one because you feel guilty. But yeah, it's just a really fun place. They have a cute little pet store where we always buy Beamer some treats. There's a local clothing store where I always buy a different kind of hoodie that's like of Blue Ridge. So anyway, it's just like our last big hurrah before the baby comes, and really looking forward to it. And we are bringing our dog for the first time. Beamer gets to come with us. So we've been there probably 4 or 5 times. A lot of times we go there with Kelly's family. We run a bigger cabin, and there's like 10 of us that go. And we've never been able to bring our dog before. And so we paid extra to get a pet-friendly place that has like a gate in the back or a fence. And so he's going to like hang out in the cabin in the woods and hopefully not get eaten by a bear. So it's going to be good. Really excited about it. So anyway, that's why we're recording the podcast early. Doesn't really have an effect. It'll still be posted on Monday, but I'll be out of town on Monday. So hopefully it all goes okay, because the internet's not great in the mountains of Blue Ridge. Yeah, should be fun. Also wanted to tell a quick story. So I'm not a technology person. I don't get technology, which should be apparent to listeners of the podcast, but I also don't particularly care about technology stuff. Like, I love playing video games, but I like the video games. I don't care about the behind the scenes stuff that makes me able to play video games. I don't care about getting a beefy PC, and I especially don't care about fucking phones. I held on to my like Razer Katana flip phone for a really long ass time because I didn't want a smartphone. I didn't give a shit about all the extra features. It seemed annoying and they were insanely expensive, and I didn't want one. Obviously, you have to have a smartphone now. If you don't, and you're under the age of 70, you're an idiot. But my iPhone 6 has kind of stopped working, basically. It's gone through that process with Apple products where after a couple years, they just flip the switch and make your product shitty, so you have to go buy a new one. But I'm in the ecosystem. It's not like I'm going to switch to Android. I'm not a homeless person, so I'm going to stick with my iPhone. And so I needed to change my Sprint plan because I had a quote-unquote free upgrade. But it's not a fucking free upgrade because I still pay for it every month. Like, that means nothing. It's not a fucking free upgrade. I'm just buying a new phone. Anyway, Sprint rant notwithstanding, I got the iPhone XR or 10R, the brand new iPhone 10 that has the colors, the colored thing on the back, and that's the new hotness. I only got it because it was new. I got it cheaper than a regular iPhone 10 or an iPhone 8. It was cheaper than an iPhone 8 too, because I pre-ordered it, so I got a little bonus discount. So I got a blue one. I'm going to hold it up for... Oops. It's plugged in. Nope, that's my old phone. That's why. So I still have my old phone. I have to trade it in to get an extra discount. And boy, I miss it because it's nice and small. And I don't want a huge fucking honking phone, but I have to now. So it's blue. And it's cool.
That's huge.
It is. It is very large.
That sucks.
It's a good percentage bigger than my old one.
Yeah, I have the SE, which is the profile of the iPhone 5. It's
even smaller than my iPhone 6.
I love this thing.
Yeah.
It fits in any pocket known to man.
It's fine. This is my reality. I have to accept it. Like, I'm not gonna go buy a new, like, an iPhone 7, which is even still a little bit bigger than the 6, just because that's gonna be shitty in a year. I have to get the new thing. I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. But I ordered it through Sprint, and they shipped it to my house. Apparently, something got fucked up where they shipped it not to my current apartment complex, where I have lived for almost 2 years, not to the apartment complex before this one, where I lived for a year and a half, but instead to the apartment complex before that one, where I lived for 2 years. So this is like my house or apartment from like 5 fucking years ago. It's not the address they have for me on file. I've updated it, but they shipped it there. So I had to drive fucking up to get it. Well, first I called the apartment complex and I was like, hey, I am getting a package shipped there. I don't know why, but they already shipped it to you guys and it's supposed to be delivered tomorrow, so I can't like change it midstream. It's going to get there. Can you please let me know, like, do they deliver it at the door? What's going to happen? She's like, yeah, they'll deliver at the door. I'll call the resident, let them know that it's coming. That way they can bring it here to the office and I'll call you. I'm like, hey, I'm going to tell you this. It's a new iPhone 10. It's like a $600 phone. Don't tell the resident this, because I don't want to have to deal with them trying to pretend like, oh, we never got it or something. Yeah. So she never calls me back after like the next day. And I'm like, hey, it's showing that it was delivered. So I called her on like Saturday morning. It was like, hey, it says this thing was delivered yesterday. Do you know anything that's going on? No, I haven't heard back from the resident. I'm like, okay, is it cool if because I'm going to be driving up there anyway. Is it cool if I drive up there and like go to that person's place and see if it's on the front door or knock on their door and talk to them? She's like, yeah, that's fine, because we as the apartment complex, like, we're not allowed to like go inside their apartment or anything, right. So we can't do anything for you. So I went to the place, not on the front door. I hear talking inside the apartment. I knock on the door, no answer. I continue knocking on the door, no answer. 4 times, like I'm banging on the door. I know there are people inside. No answer. I'm like, okay, this is bad fucking news. Like, the package isn't on the door, so they got it. They took it inside, and now the apartment complex person just called them and they did not answer. So they know something's going on, that they might want this package. They got the voicemail that this package was there. They're going to try to fucking steal my phone. I'm going to have to call the cops. I don't know if the cops are even going to be able to help me with this. So I go back up to the apartment complex and I tell her the situation. I'm like, hey, I don't want to be like overly aggressive here, but I don't know what else to do other than call the police and see what my options are. Because I know it was delivered. I know that they have it because it is not on the door. She's like, okay, let me call them one more time. So she calls them again. Someone picks up. She kind of tells them the whole thing. She's like, oh, yeah. And he can come get it right now? Okay, great. Thank you. So she hangs up and she's like, hey, it's a really old lady. So she just couldn't hear me knocking.
Right.
And so I go there and I bang on the door even more. And since she knows I'm coming, she's listening for the door. She comes out, and this woman's easily in her 80s. As soon as she opens the door, I get fucking punched in the face with cigarette smoke. Like, I thought I was going to pass out. It is the most intense, terrible cigarette smoke I've ever smelled in my life. So this lady's in there just sucking down 6 packs a day.
Maybe she was only actually like 30.
Yeah, maybe.
She's just
my assumption was she is so old, she's smoking as much as possible to fucking end it already. Maybe. Like, she wants the cancer. So I feel bad. She was actually very nice. She was sweet about it. She was like, hey, I'm sorry. I opened the box. My daughter called me yesterday and said that she was shipping me a present. And so I saw this box, thought it was for me, obviously didn't check the name. I opened it, saw that it was a phone, and was like, why would my daughter send me a phone? And then I saw that it was a different name. So that's why the box is open. I didn't mess with it, blah, blah, blah. So she was very sweet. But boy, it fucking reeked. But I got my phone. I was able to install all my stuff, and I'm all good.
Does your phone
but it was,
smell?
The box reeked. When I brought the box home and like left it on the table, and Kelly came home from work and she was like, why does it smell like cigarettes in here? And this was hours later. It still smelled like my whole apartment smelled like cigarettes because of that fucking box. It's gone now.
When that lady moves out or when she dies,
yeah,
like, the apartment complex is gonna have a hell of a time.
She's not getting her deposit back.
No.
We'll say that much. They're gonna have to replace the carpets, everything.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
Wow.
I would not want to. Yeah, it's gonna be bad. But
hey,
I got my phone.
Maybe don't fucking smoke. you stupid idiot.
I'm
going to take an aggressive stance on it.
Obviously, for her, it's a bit different. I'm sure she's been smoking like her whole entire life. But that's a whole point. And I think that smoking is starting to go away.
It is.
Because people are really recognizing the health concerns. It's not cool anymore.
No.
Like, the only people that smoke have been smoking, and it's just either too hard for them to quit or they're just unwilling to try to quit. I don't see many young people smoking anymore.
Right.
It's all about weed, obviously, but that's not going to kill you in the same way that cigarettes will.
Right. And I don't, think it ruins homes in quite the same way either.
Well, it fucking smells, dude. We have people in our complex that smoke regularly, and it seeps all the way down here, too. Like, I'll come home and just be... And it smells like sour. Weed smells sour. It's gross. It's not as bad as cigarette smoke, but it's still not good.
Just don't do any of it. Just don't.
I don't know. I don't have a problem with people smoking weed, but if you're
it's still bad for your lungs.
Sure. But my thing is, like, if you're going to do it, be considerate of the people that live around you. If it's in a home, it's different because you're by yourself. But in an apartment complex like this, like, turn on the fans. Maybe crack a window. Something so that it's not seeping through everyone else's apartment.
Yeah.
But anyway. So that was my little adventure getting my phone. On the way home, I was going to go to GameStop, which I've not been to a GameStop in quite a long time, because why would you want to go to a GameStop anymore? Because I was going to trade in, finally, my old PS4. Since I have the Pro, I've had it for a while. I was originally going to try to sell my PS4 on Facebook or somewhere else, and everybody was like, don't bother. You're not going to get anything for it. You don't want to have to deal with creepy people. So I was like, fine. Even though I've pre-ordered a shit ton of games through Amazon so I could, get that last chance discount until they close that off, I know there will be more games I want. Maybe I'll buy a new controller or something. So I'll go in and trade a bunch of games and my PS4, and I'll get whatever. Plus, they were having a special where I got an extra $25 for it. So I got $175 for my PS4. I'll take that. Whatever. It's found money, basically. So I went and did that, and I was going to buy Red Dead Redemption 2 since I was already there, and I hadn't pre-ordered that through Amazon. Since I was already going to have that money, that store credit, I'd rather buy it there than download it digitally on PlayStation and waste the $60. They were sold out. This was Saturday, the day after the game came out, and they were sold out. So on my way home, I call another GameStop that's at the mall closer to where I live. They were sold out. Like, I know it's a popular game, and the game has already broken a bunch of sales records and is making millions and millions of dollars. But how do you not have enough copies of the biggest game release of the year? I don't understand that. And I know, like, a lot of little mom and pop shops didn't even get Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, there are a lot of supply
So I wonder
issues.
if they had, yeah, exactly.
It must have just been production problems.
Yeah. It just seems weird to me. And I haven't checked back. Maybe they've gotten a new shipment in already, but I still haven't bought Red Dead. But I know you've played it, so we'll talk a lot about it. But, like, I was annoyed because I wanted to start it this last weekend, but I think the timing will be okay. I'll get back from our Blue Ridge trip, and then I can kick it up that next weekend and have a good time with it. But
yeah, it is one of the only PS4 games to have 2 discs. So maybe there was something weird with that, with whoever they had producing their physical stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But I know, and I wish I would have known this, but you enlightened me, that I can use that GameStop credit to buy a gift card.
Yep.
So I could just put all that money on a PlayStation Network gift card, which might be what I do, and then I'll just download it digitally and not have to worry about the disc because the install size is the same. So I might just do that, and that way I won't have to go back and do a GameStop after I do that stuff.
Yeah, when I traded in some of my games and stuff, I paid off Pokemon Let's Go. And so I'm going to have to go into a fucking GameStop to go get that thing.
Right. Yeah, I did not pre-order Pokemon Let's Go. I'm still kind of like not thinking I'm going to get it.
I just have to see what it is.
I know. It's a little bit of obligation. And if I'm going to buy it, I might as well use that store credit in some capacity. So maybe I'll do that too. I have like 8 games pre-ordered still. I mean, Fallout, Spyro, a bunch of games next year too. Metro, Rage 2. Like I pre-ordered Last of Us. I pre-ordered anything I could via Amazon, so that I could get them for whatever $49 instead of $63 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just getting a lot of stuff on PC, so there's no point in me reserving it. But I do have Spyro, Kingdom Hearts 3, Resident Evil 2, and Fallout 76 pre-ordered on Amazon currently.
So anyway, that was my little weekend adventure. So I got my new phone at least. Did not get Red Dead Redemption 2, but I'll be able to dive into that. I feel like I've already missed the zeitgeist. Like, that is the only thing everybody is talking about right now, and I feel very left out. But good transition. Do you want to talk about Red Dead?
Maybe I do.
Let's do it.
All right.
Tell me about that video game.
So, all right. I have some thoughts. So, I hope
so, because that's the whole point of this podcast.
I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is a terrible video game.
Oh, boy.
But it is one of the best immersive sims ever created. As a video,
what a twist.
As a video game, I think it fails royally.
How?
It's a lot of systems that are not well explained. The controls are a fucking nightmare and a half. That's the biggest thing for me is the controls. It just it plays like a Rockstar game, which is a bad thing.
Right. It's kind of floaty.
Yeah, but so it's floaty. You rely on the targeting system, like the auto target.
Okay.
There's no way to play the game if you're not auto targeting on, at least with a controller. Maybe with mouse and keyboard you could get away with it, but PC's not out yet.
Right.
So like you heavily rely on the auto targeting, and like there are different buttons for like picking up a hat off the ground, picking up stuff off a shelf, like looting a body, picking up a gun off the ground. There are different buttons for all of these things. So it's like anytime you want to do anything, you kind of have to like go to the thing and wait for the button prompt to appear to tell you what you actually need to press to get it. There's no intuitiveness to it at all. And I will say that the one thing that I do really like is how you, like, anyone that's within your vicinity, you just hold. For me, it's L1 because I swap my triggers between R2 to R1 and L2 to L1. So I hold L1 and I target a person in my vicinity, and I can press square to antagonize, which is like start a fight with them, or circle to like greet them or to like diffuse a situation or whatever. Well, yeah, I think circle is also diffuse. For a second there, I thought square was diffuse, but I think it is. Circle is always the positive option. Square is always the negative option. So, like, circle, like, just greet, hello, and then, like, Arthur will say hi to, like, a random NPC, and they'll shoot something back at you. And then if it's, like, someone around the camp, because you're Arthur, you're part of the Vanderlyn gang, if you're, like, around camp and you say something to someone, they'll, like, reference something that either you've done lately, like how you're looking, like something that they've gone and done recently, or a mission that you completed. And as the events in the world change, there are just like tons and tons and tons of dialogue options there, which is where it plays into the immersive sim element, I think, really well. But so here are all of the control options. I'm going to rattle off as many as I can think of in my brain for a horse riding. So it's triangle to get on the horse. If you're off the horse, you can target your horse like an NPC, and you can pat it with square. You can brush it with left on the D-pad. You can do something else with right on the D-pad. You can study it with R2, and it brings up stats on the horse. If you hit circle, it's like make it flee. Like if it's in a dangerous situation, you can smack it on the ass and it'll run away. And if you hit triangle, you can then grab the reins and lead it as you're walking. I don't know if you can hitch a horse while walking. I have not tried that yet. But when you hit triangle without targeting it, and you're on your horse, then you hit. It's like Grand Theft Auto controls. So you hit X like repeatedly to make the horse go faster at different speeds. Yeah. And I think it's set. All right. So if you push forward on the left stick, the horse like moves at like a decent, somewhat slow speed, and then you hit X to kind of determine the new maximum speed that you're doing with the forward left stick. But then then you would think that, I pull back on the left stick and it'll slow down. No, that just like makes your horse try to turn around, and if it's going too fast, it'll like fall over its own feet and throw you off. I've done that before. To slow down the horse, you have to hold R1. or maybe it's R2. It's one of those. It's R2 because R1 is to like draw your gun and shoot, which I've done on accident so many times trying to slow my horse down. If you level up your like bond with your horse, you can do like a running stop where if you pull back on the left stick and like hit square or some button, I don't fucking know what it is, it'll like skid. It'll do like a skid stop if you need to stop immediately. And then if you're on a mission with people, if you're pushing forward with the left stick and you hold X, Arthur will keep pace with the people that you're traveling with. And then if you're traveling in a line of people, if you double tap X, Arthur will go up a placement in the line.
Okay.
Like, what the fuck is this?
So like, are icons constantly popping up to tell you how to do all this stuff?
Like, the very, like, bare bones, like...
So most of it you just have to guess.
Most of it you just have to remember. Because it tells you how to do everything. Like, there'll be the tooltips that pop up in the top left that tell you how to do everything. It'll have you do it, like, once, but then that's it. And then, so there are all these different things that you can do. Like, I forgot if you push up on the D-pad while you have your gun drawn. So I'm holding L1, my gun's drawn, I'm aiming it. I hit up on the D-pad, Arthur will aim the gun in the sky, and I can then hit R1 to fire the gun in the air to, like, scare someone or, like, threaten them without shooting around them. I just shooting in the air. Like, it's just, like, all the little shit like that. And it's a game that really punishes your mistakes, which I like. I actually kind of really appreciate it. And there are a lot of funny situations that arise from me pushing the wrong buttons, but it's also, like, unending frustrating situations. And, like, the game aggressively autosaves all the time, and it only has one autosave slot, so you could get really screwed over on that. You have, like, a ton of manual save slots, but you have to think about manual saving a lot, which I'm doing. It comes down to, like, there should be way more than just one autosave slot, but whatever. Yeah, and, like, I don't know. Like, if you're on a boat, there are whole different controls for a boat, and, and then, like, if you're in town, like, what you do really matters. Like, it makes you really think before pushing any buttons at all, ever, in any situation. Like, I've got, like, draw my gun and shoot. I've got that down pretty well. And, like, I can, if I tap a button, he puts the gun away. But if it's a rifle and he's carrying it, I think the only way to get... See, I don't even... So, your weapons are kept on your horse. And so if you want to, like, change out your weapons, you go to your horse, to your saddlebags, you hold right on the D-pad and access your saddlebags. Or no, maybe it's... I don't know. It's some button. Right on the D-pad normally opens your satchel, so maybe when you're by your horse, it opens the horse bags. Whatever. Anyways, and you can, like, change out what guns you have and your different holsters and stuff. But then I ran into a situation where I had my rifle out, and, like, I was holding it with both hands, like, in an aggressive stance, but then I tapped it to, like, put it away, and he just held it in one hand. And I couldn't get him to put it back in the fucking holster on his back. I didn't know how to do it. It was, and, like, I had to get on my horse, start galloping, and then eventually he put it in his thing, like, as, like, a default animation change kind of deal. But that was the only way I could figure out how to do it. So it's like you're doing these stupid, weird actions to, like, get things just the way you want them. Because, like, I didn't want to walk around town with my rifle out, even though it wasn't in an aggressive stance. I didn't know if that would affect things or if people would deal with me differently. And it's just, it's really cool. But it's also, it's fascinating, but it's frustrating.
So that's kind of, because you brought up the point of, like, hey, it punishes your mistakes.
Yeah.
Which is it's a very cool thing. But for me, it breaks down a bit when those mistakes are caused by the player not understanding the systems.
Right.
It's not like you missed a shot or you said the wrong thing or you forgot to mention this. It's that you pressed the wrong button. Like that, those aren't the kind of mistakes that you want to be punished because that's frustrating.
Right.
This isn't a platformer. It's not a fighting game like where their combos matter and the timing of everything is really intricate. Like it's a role playing game essentially.
Right.
And that seems like that kind of breaks down a lot to me. I am very fascinated to try this now and see if I am immediately overwhelmed, as it sounds like you are with there's a million, an infinite amount of actions you can take in different circumstances, and different buttons do different things in each circumstance.
Right.
That just seems like a nightmare to me.
It's crazy. It's crazy is what it is. And like,
it frankly
you can play
like
the game with like minimal HUD, and I wouldn't. I initially was like, yeah, I totally want to do that, like immersive sim all the way. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to do that? There's no way. Yeah. You have to play the game for like 30 hours before. Yeah.
Right.
Jeez. But all of that being said, holy shit, the writing. Holy shit. It is so good. Arthur is such a fascinating character. I always thought John Marston was pretty flat and boring. Arthur is like the complete opposite of that. Like, he has a lot of different dimensions, and he feels, everybody in that game feels like a real person. Like, just the way they react to you, the way you react to them, and like the way Arthur reacts to, like, there's like a kid in camp, and the way Arthur kind of treats that kid, in like a very like fatherly and maternal, like, yeah, son, let's go fishing. Like, and then you know, half an hour later, I'm like passing a dude on the road and I shoot him in the head for his horse, like shit like that.
Is there a lot of choice when it comes to like the dialogue stuff, like, or not even the choice, but are those choices actually having impact on the relationships of characters?
Yeah, I think a lot of the dialogue choices wind up being like, Arthur speaks for himself a lot in most of the dialogues, but when you do have choice, it's either like, okay, which question am I going to ask, or it's just like a binary good bad kind of thing.
Yeah,
like I'm gonna play it cool, or I'm gonna be a dick. Like, it's very binary. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's a gorgeous game, written very well. Like, just the amount of detail is astounding. Like, you can go into every single building. Every single building is fully kitted out with items and decor, and it's just, the scope of it is crazy to me. And like, just the number of little events that are happening. Like, I feel like I get a good chunk of like me time in between stuff happening. Like, it feels paced really well. Like, I don't feel like there's like, oh, a dude just got kicked in the head and killed by his horse, and then 2 minutes later I'm riding on the road, and then there's another, like, the O'Driscolls are coming to shoot me and I gotta fend them off, and then 30 seconds later this other thing happens. It's like, it's spread out enough that I appreciate it, because it gives you the space to experiment, and it gives you the space to engage with all of the systems, and not kind of throw them in your face all of the time. But there is, pretty early on in the first area, there's a mission, and you go. It involves a character named Lenny, who is an African American fella who's in the Vanderlyn gang.
Is this a spoiler?
I'm not going to go any further into detail than that. I'm just going to say that, holy shit, that mission, that is one of my favorite things I have done in a video game in a very long time.
Okay, cool.
It is so
good. This
good.
is early on?
Yeah, this is pretty early on. It's in the first town. And it also, because it kind of highlights the main missions on your mini map in like a bright gold circle, and then all the kind of side stuff appear in like white circles or different stuff like that. So the thing I'm struggling with a little bit is the quest tracking. There's like an activity log, and there's like a challenge tracker, but it doesn't always give me all the information that I wish it would. Like, and maybe that's something, because Arthur has a journal that he writes in, and I haven't really looked at the journal at all, so maybe he's detailing stuff in there, and I just don't know about it. But like, that's just goes, like, there's just so much in the game to remember and to think about.
Right. If you come across a little ambient quest, it's not giving you the, Skyrim map marker for where the endpoint is every single step of the way. And so if you come across that and then move on to something else, it's not going to tell you about that original thing, and you might not remember it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, it will mark it on the map. It does mark it on. I'm more talking about like remembering all of the details, because like it'll mark it on the map where you need to go, or like the person you need to talk to, but I'm not always sure like what the mission is supposed to be.
Right.
I just know I have to go there. And
yeah,
because
that's
the
kind of
menus
any
are,
open world game.
Yeah, but like Skyrim, like you have your side quest, and like it tells you like this is the name of the quest, this is what's going on, this is the last few steps that you've taken. I can't really find anything like that in the menus, and maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, or I haven't clicked onto the right thing yet. Because the menu is kind of confusing. It's split up into like player, story, and then within those brings up another screen and has a bunch of different subcategories. But then this activity log is just something that you pull up kind of as like a sidebar while you're playing, and that has a few tabs of different stuff. Yeah, and there are a few systems that are really confusing, like the way that you turn in pelts and carcasses of animals can be confusing sometimes. And I went on this one mission, and on my way back, I killed an animal, and I had heard that like over time the carcasses spoil, and it's not that much time, and like if you leave them on the ground, they'll disappear, and so I didn't want that to happen. So when I got back from the mission, I guess the mission wasn't really over because it kind of triggered this event in the camp, and this event was going on, and I couldn't turn in the carcass to the food place, and I didn't know what to do, so I like kept trying to do that, and I was missing all the stuff that was going on because it was just happening in real time around me, and like they were having this big party thing, and I kept turning in this carcass. I'm like, where the fuck is the cook? Like I just need to put the thing in the thing. Like, why do you have to be here for that? And then I wound up. I feel like I missed a really big opportunity for like character building and relationship building with the different members of my camp, because I was trying to turn in this carcass and I couldn't get it to work, and I didn't know why. Because I've seen screenshots of that thing happening, and like everyone's like, "Oh, this was one of my favorite blah blah blahs." I'm like, I was trying to turn in a carcass the whole time, and I missed it. But I don't know. There's a lot of just really, really crazy stuff in terms of detail in that game. It surprises me constantly, in good ways and bad ways. But I'm really, really enjoying it. I wish. I don't know that there's a better way to do all these controls and have all these options available to you. Either I wish there was a better way, or I wish I was better at remembering all the buttons,
or that there just weren't at so many things. Like, is it really necessary to have a separate button to shoot in the air? Like, why not just aim away from the guy and have it do the same thing?
Well, I think it accomplishes
they could have
the
stripped
same
down.
thing.
Yeah, so then why is that necessary?
Right.
Like, that just kind of muddies the waters of what you do, what the different buttons do in different situations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm going to get frustrated with that stuff. But it sounds like the writing and kind of the world and everything is certainly more than enough to put up with maybe some finicky controls.
Yeah, for sure. And it was overwhelming at first, the number of characters, but as you play, I'm thankful for that, because there is such a variety of people and like activities that they like to do and how they handle situations, that it keeps it fresh.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, like, not like I'm super far in. I'm probably like 10 hours in so far, if that. But I've reached like the second settlement area. I'm really, really, really enjoying it. I'm excited to spend more time there.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to start it, and I'm sure we will have plenty of Red Dead 2 conversations in the next several episodes.
Yeah.
Because it's a long game. There's a lot to it. We're definitely going to be talking about it for a while. So
yeah, and I found this like totally ambient thing. Like, I was just riding around, and I'm not going to say anything about what I saw, but I saw this thing, and it was very disturbing. And I walked over to it. I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like, I was riding, and there was this thing in the road. I was like, "What?" And I got off my horse, and I looked, and there was this like, there was a crazy thing, and there was like a music sting that happened along with it. And then like there was another little piece there of text, and I read that and was like, what the fuck is happening, and like there was a music sting and there was this thing, and that was it. It didn't update anything in a quest log, like nothing else. And I'm just like waiting for for the shoe to drop on this thing.
Okay.
It's wild. So like I like constantly surprised by the things that the game throws at me and how it plays with its own rules a lot too, in really fun ways. So
sweet. Seems like it's good.
It is. Some might say 10 out of 10. I don't know if I would say that, but some people certainly have.
Yeah. Well, what do you say we talk about some Fallout 76?
Yeah, we played that today, mere hours ago, the beta on PS4.
Before we talk about the actual beta itself, I do have to take Bethesda to task on how this beta was implemented, because it was poor. Just like the communication around like that, it's not a beta. It is specific times that you can have access to it, and you have to log in only at that time. And so like you can't just download it for the several days that it's live and play it when you want. It has to be at specific times. And that's kind of shitty, because not that this was like specifically a pre-order bonus per se, but like it's only for people that pre-order. And so you kind of go in like, hey, I will pre-order so that I can play the beta. And I can imagine plenty of circumstances where people will be unable to play the beta because they can't play the game while those times are open. And that communication did not exist, period, until the thing was out there.
Yeah,
and
they should have said it was a series of server tests.
Yeah, like that was. It's shitty, really shitty communication, especially for a game that a lot of people already have concerns about. It certainly is not a good look, and just concerns about Bethesda and their game releases in general. Obviously, there are tons of stories about the different bugs, and there's a whole thing about it. For some people, it's like a bug has deleted that beta, and like. Yes, all of that definitely sucks. Bethesda needs to do a better job of this. This is how they have been for the longest time.
Yeah.
You can argue that, hey, people shouldn't give them a pass for it, but my point is more like, you know what you're getting. Like, they have never done anything to make you think the game wouldn't be janky as hell when it releases.
Right.
So if you are buying into this, you're buying into it knowing that's going to happen. That doesn't make it okay, but like, you should know what you're getting at this point. The other part that's really frustrating is just like, I don't know, because it's not really I guess it's a beta, but the game comes out in a couple of weeks, and so it's more like a server test, and so they like no feedback that they get about the game itself will they implement. This is like, this doesn't. I'm trying to figure out how
that's not
this.
true, because it is a live game, so they can update and make changes as they
go. That's true. But I guess and again, this goes back to people knowing what they're buying, and they know that it's going to be updated as time goes. But like what we are playing right now will not be significantly different when we pay $60 for it. And that's more what I'm getting at. Which there's still value to the player if somebody checks this out, which a lot of people have, and said like, hey, I'm not clicking with X, Y, or Z. I'm not going to buy it now. There's still value to the player for that, but it's still just like, I don't know. I find it even hard to believe that they can really work on the stability of the system with such little time. Like the game comes out in just over 2 weeks. Like I have a hard time believing that they can really adjust a lot of things. And I don't know. It just feels like maybe they should have done this earlier. And I don't know if this game's coming in hot or what's going on. I feel like if it's coming in hot, that's an extra bad thing, because Bethesda games are already not great at launch.
Yeah,
so I don't know. It's just frustrating.
I think like the release date, I just, so many of the games I've played in the last couple of years are early access games that are live updated, and I think this is just another one of those. They should be marketing it as such.
Yeah, and you also don't usually pay $60 for an early access game.
True,
that's part of it too.
That's true.
And you also aren't getting an early access game that had dozens of millions of dollars spent on developing it from one of the most popular developers and publishers in the AAA video game space. So I feel like the whole like early access mentality isn't fair to apply to this game, because early access to me is an indie game that is early on in development, where the players help drive the scope and the development of the game, and those early access players get a discounted price because they're helping the development. None of that is happening with this game. You're paying full price from it. It's from a AAA studio that had millions and millions of dollars to make the game. And yes, will they adapt and change the game based on player feedback? 100%. But any games as a service game will do that. Like, that isn't tied to early access. So I don't know. I would not give them a pass like that as like an early access sort of thing.
Those are fair criticisms.
And I'm not trying to be like negative about it. Playing through it today, and I only play for like maybe an hour and a half, mostly with you, just kind of exploring. We did like a first little quest. We looked at the camp system.
Yeah.
I did obviously my create a character, all that stuff, and all of that was fun. And playing with you and maybe other people, if I make more friends, will be fun. But at its core, I still have the same concern. Or I guess I should say, nothing about this overwhelmed my concern about the longevity of this game. It still feels like Fallout 4 with less content. It's like a bigger Fallout 4 with less content than Fallout 4. And that's kind of worrying for me. We'll see how they're able to update it and like if they can add quests or new enemy types or places to visit. Some of that seems difficult, like how you would integrate that, like a new place to visit, unless they expand the map. But I don't know. I'm not a game developer. It's just, I don't know. Those are some of my broad concerns that I had going into the beta that my fairly pointed out short time with the beta did not do anything to assuage those fears.
Yeah. So finally having gotten my hands on it, because I spent a couple of hours, I think it was like 2.5 hours playing by myself, and then about an hour and a half playing with you. In those 2.5 hours, it felt very much like some of my favorite parts of Fallout 4, where you're just like, I'm going to pick this direction and just go explore and see what there is.
Yes.
And you're just getting a bunch of loot, and you're adding stuff to your, like, I don't know, to your bag and to your repertoire, like new weapons and upgrades and stuff, and you're earning like more caps, more loot, you're leveling stuff up, you're getting new skills, and all of that stuff is rewarding in its own. But then you're also coming across these cool areas that have their own like little environmental storytelling opportunities, and I've been enjoying all of that. Now the part where it really works in Fallout 4 is because you can do that as a break from like the main quest and like other more like story heavy sections or like building, whereas this just has that in building.
Right.
But I will say that then when you and I got together, it felt very different when you and I were playing together. And like the little interactions that I had with people while I was playing by myself. Like a couple of people like asked me to team up with them and stuff, and I turned them down, but we just kind of ran alongside each other for a little bit, just like hopping around doing emotes and then like crouching in front of each other and like like
internet stuff,
shoving our crotches in each other's
video
faces,
game.
all sitting on the same couch together, that kind of stuff. Like all of that was a lot of fun, and like those little moments just brought like a little bit of extra spark to my exploration. And then when I was playing with you, it felt very different because we're both processing information differently. We're able to spread out and like search stuff faster. And like two of us taking on the enemies at once is a lot more effective. And it felt like two very different experiences.
Interesting.
For me, I don't know. I can see myself spending a lot of time with it and like leveling up, and I do really like the perk system, the perk cards. Those are really, really cool because they all have their own like little unique spin on it, on their effects and all that. And like you're getting like perk card packs and you're opening them, and they have like rare perk cards. So I know I'll be like, some of them are level locked, I think. So I like want to get to a certain level before I can use them.
Sure.
And like I was finding, like I'm level 4, so I still can't engage in any of the PvP, which I don't really want to anyways. But I'm still level 4, and I found like several weapons, like a sniper rifle and a pump shotgun that are level 5 locked, and like leather boiled armor, which is a slightly better quality of leather armor that's level locked at 5. So like once I get to level 5, I have new gear that I can put on, which is like I don't know, it's a very video gamey, like MMO type of thing to do,
Sure.
and I've always liked that. Like the idea of when you level up, you get all this access to all this new stuff. Like that's fun, and that just happens through playing the game. And like you're also finding new areas and learning the terrain, and like all the new enemy types are really cool, and those enemy types come along with new items for like crafting that have new effects and new recipes and all this stuff. And I like collecting all the cosmetic items. Like you put on that ranger outfit and you look like a total like forest ranger dinkus. And then,
I had some nice like thick rimmed glasses too that I put on in my
like
little
that,
ranger
like,
hat,
flat bill ranger hat, and like the short shorts, the short ranger shorts. And then
it was a good look.
Yeah, and the first cosmetic item I found was a beer can hat, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then I found bottle cap sunglasses. So I'm running around the wasteland with a fucking beer can hat and bottle cap sunglasses, looking like an idiot.
And I do like that the armor goes on underneath your clothes. So like, because I put on like a leather chest piece and you can't see it. It's underneath my cut like aesthetic costume or whatever you want to call it. So that stuff's cool because it just lets people show a little more customization on their characters.
Right, and still have all the armor. Like, because in Fallout 4, it was like, well, I have to just look like this mishmash of metal parts because it's the best damage resistance, even though I have this sweet, like, petticoat or lab coat or whatever it might be. Or
that's what mods are for.
Yeah. And so, like, this is nice that it's just kind of built that way. Yeah, and, like, okay, so Hunger and Thirst, though, I didn't notice them draining at, like, a really precipitous rate. I felt like I still feel like I have too much stuff.
Yes.
Like, it still feels like maybe there's a balance to be struck there. But I do have a couple perk cards that are like, hey, this thing, like my thirst goes down 25% slower because the perk card that I have on. So, like, that's part of it, too.
Okay.
But I definitely feel like I have more stuff than I need in terms of, like, food for hunger and thirst.
Well, and a lot of it, too, is like that it's that early game thing where you don't know the systems yet, and so you're just collecting fucking everything because you don't know what's going to be valuable yet. So I feel like as we play, we'll learn pretty quickly that, like, oh, I don't need to pick up the scrap steel from every enemy because I get a shit ton of that. I want to make sure I get the duct tape and the copper, and the similar thing that happened in Fallout 4 and really all of those Bethesda games. Like, you learn the shit that you need to pick up and the shit that you can ignore pretty quickly.
Right.
It's a very similar game to Fallout 4. I think that is mostly like I'm mostly like cool with that because I personally loved Fallout 4.
Yeah,
and I know you did too. And like it being set in a new place is different enough. There are a lot of similar systems though that feel a little bit like okay, like I'm still doing this. A lot of the UI is still the same, and it's just.
I like the new favorite. I like the
new
favorites wheel better than the D-pad stuff.
I don't. It takes longer to pull it up and get to what you want on the wheel than like I can memorize that. Oh, my sniper rifle is 3 up clicks, and then I just pull it out automatically. And with this, I gotta hold up, and then I gotta scroll around and use the R3 to pick the one I want. So, to me, it's a little less intuitive.
Okay,
but it's pretty subjective. I don't know. I'm bummed that we won't get to play more. We actually considered, hey, do we want to delay the podcast so we can continue playing tonight? But I didn't want the podcast to go up late, so here we are. But I'm bummed I'm not going to be able to play more of it. I don't even know how long the beta runs, what days it's going to be up.
Right.
I have no idea. So my assumption is that it'll be done by the time I get back from Blue Ridge, which sucks. But I'm already buying the game. It's not like I really need to play the beta to convince me one way or the other. I'm going to get it no matter what. It's more just like it's a fun thing to play and certainly want to educate people that are on the fence on the podcast. So sounds obvious to say, but if you like Fallout 4, you like Bethesda games, and you're open to the idea of doing that in a multiplayer kind of MMO setting, check it out. Yeah. But like if you don't like all of those things,
people have already made their decisions already.
100%. You know one way or the other if this is the kind of thing you're going to be into.
Yeah.
And I don't think the game does anything to sway either of those camps.
No.
Like if you like all that stuff, you're going to like this. If you don't like any of that stuff, this isn't going to do anything to convince you otherwise. So Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, like, even if you're really into survival games but don't like Fallout, I don't know that this does enough of that to really bring you in.
Yeah.
And, like, if you're one of the people who's like Fallout 1 and 2 are the best Fallouts, obviously this is not for you at all.
You've given up on Fallout for a long time ago.
So you already know, dude.
Right. Yeah, so, I don't know. I'm glad to be able to check it out because... Not that it assuaged my fears long term, but the actual like moment to moment, that initial stuff, all that's still really good.
Yeah.
When I started the beta, I wanted to make sure that I got as much out of that hour and a half as I could. So like I wasn't reading the little terminals. I didn't explore around Vault 76. I just got the hell out of there as soon as I could. So I'm gonna have that same Fallout, Skyrim personal experience where like I really plod my way through. I look in every nook and cranny when I'm playing solo. So all of that's going to add a lot more fun for me that I didn't get playing the beta, but I don't see myself playing this solo all that often just because there's a lot of emptiness. And the emptiness in Fallout 4 and in Skyrim and Fallout 3, it always feels like I'm on my way from one thing to the next, or like the next, turning around this corner will start a new quest or create something new, or I'll have some sort of adventure. I don't feel that as much here because a lot of it feels a bit sterile, and I think a lot of that's just because there aren't NPCs. There aren't other people you're interacting with in quest givers. It's all notes and audio logs and robots, and that just makes the world literally and figuratively feel a little less lived in, a little less like worth exploration, except for like getting more gear. Like that exploration for the sake of discovery doesn't feel as much there for me, but that might change the longer I play the game, getting into new areas and stuff. That might develop a little bit better.
Yeah, and while I played, I did get 3 different notifications of events happening around me. I didn't go to check them out, but like for 2.5 hours, there were 3 events that were in my vicinity that I could have gone.
Sure.
And I saw like people's dots on the map, like most of them had gone to Flock and see what the events are all about. So I haven't seen those yet. They each had different names. The events did, so I'm wondering if they're like kind of the same thing based on the location, and they just have a random chance or a timer that they're on to spawn kind of thing.
Hopefully it's not like a Destiny thing,
Yeah.
where it's the same one every half hour, you know?
Right.
Like, that'll get pretty boring.
Right. Well, I mean, like, just in the opening area, there were 3 separate ones, so I imagine there's a lot of different ones, I would hope.
Yeah, let's hope. Cool. Well, because I haven't been playing Red Dead, I have been playing some other stuff, so I'm still working my way through Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I've actually played a ton of that game the past 2 weeks, frankly, because I'm trying to get through it and finish it.
Yeah, I forgot I played that too.
Okay. It's not a bad game.
It's fine.
It's just, yes, it's fine. It's not exciting, and because I have a lot of other games that I am excited to play, like Red Dead and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Fallout 76 coming out soon, Spyro coming out soon, stuff like Guacamelee 2 that I still have in my backlog, like I don't feel super engaged in this game. It's perfectly competent, but it is the same game as the last one. Like, the structure of it's very much the same. There are, like, a couple of little side missions that are nice from like a character perspective and interaction perspective, but not all that interesting from a gameplay perspective. A lot of retreading an area you already went to, or hey, you just need to run from point A to Z and just talk to a person and then talk to another person, talk to the original person, talk to a new person, and then you're done. And so like a lot of that's just kind of, it's just not super interesting. I don't know, how far are you? I'm probably farther than you in a broad sense without spoilers. So have you gotten to the first little village town?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you gotten to the second bigger village with like the native people?
Is that the one where Jonah stops off to talk with the chick in the bar?
That's the first one.
Okay. So I'm past that, and I don't think I'm at the next big one yet.
Okay, because there's a hefty chunk of stuff, kind of like, it's more, what's the word? Like you're on a specific path. It's not kind of open for choice. It kind of guides you through a specific place. There's a lot of content in between those two areas.
I think that's where I am.
I am post second area. Like, I did all the shit in that area and moved on from that. And I just now did a big story thing and I'm coming back to that area. So my completion percentage is like 50%, but I think that means like getting everything. So I'm going to assume I'm more like 2/3 of the way through the story, if not maybe more.
Red Dead also has a percentage counter.
Interesting.
Which is weird. Because like,
are you at like 1.6%?
No, I'm at like 28%.
Weird.
So I don't know if it's
really
like
weird.
just main quest progression or I don't know how it's measuring it. I have no idea.
Yeah. But anyway, so like there's actually been less combat than I anticipated, and maybe there will be more going forward because I did spend a lot of time in that the big tribal town that you'll get to. There's a lot of it's huge. There's a bunch of stuff to run around.
Oh no,
and,
I did just get there. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's when I left off. Yep.
So there are a couple little side missions there and like a market and a bunch of story stuff happens that's more like walking around kind of thing. And so that was a couple hours that I spent there. And so there was a bigger gap between combat stuff. The area that I just got to, the story mission I just got through, introduced like the supernatural enemy. They're a huge fucking pain in the ass because most of them bum rush you. They're like melee guys. And the aiming in this game is not great,
right? Especially
like close range aiming. And so I like panic shoot all the time and they kill you super fast. And I guess the game wants you to do more like running away and healing because there are all these new herbs. There's like the healing herbs. There are perception herbs that make you able to see enemies and animals and stuff more easily with the R3 button, the kind of like vision mode.
Right.
And then there's like some kind of defense herb that makes you take less damage, and so I think it wants me to be using those things more. They're just not super intuitive, and the combat, especially with these new enemies, the combat comes up on you so fast that it's hard to like take a breath and do one of those things and then move on. I'm just kind of like panicking my way through it, and then I'm done. So that I'm not in love with. The traditional combat with the regular dudes with guns has been perfectly fine. There's a bigger emphasis on stealth. Because you can put all the mud on you, and they have you can climb on or go on the wall, hidden things, and not just in bushes.
Yeah, I've liked that so far.
Yeah, it's all fine, but it makes it really weird to me that you can't hide bodies. Because like you'll stealth kill a dude, and then you're moving through the stealth area, and the dead body's just laying there, and so a dude discovers the body, and then they're on the alert, and that's just I'm like. The game, clearly they leaned more heavily into the stealth. They added new stealth systems. And if you want me to engage with that more, why would you not let me hide bodies? Because it breaks the stealth all the time for me.
Yeah.
Because they're on the lookout, they screw up their patterns, and I can't get to one guy. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit there and wait for minutes until they go back to their normal thing. And that's not fun. So it just seems like they doubled down on areas that were bad decisions. The biggest thing for me that I fucking hate in this game, there are way more underwater sections.
There are a ton.
And
like, they are so terrible because they have like the one kill enemies. Or the one hit kill enemies.
Underwater missions are never good. Ever. They are never good. If you make a game that is all underwater, fine, you can make that good. But name a fucking game that is a normal game that has underwater levels where those underwater levels are good. Hey, you know this little series, Mario? Like, it's fairly popular, right? It's kind of like the biggest series of all video game time. What are the worst levels in any Mario game? The fucking underwater levels. Especially in the 2D games, like, those are all near perfect platformers. Except for the fucking underwater levels. Why do people make this shit? It's so bad. It is not fun to move around. The camera sucks ass. There are those one-hit fucking kill piranha swarms that you can't swim away from. So if they discover you, you just die. You run out of air, and so you have to find the little bubble areas where you can get air. And once you go and you come back down, it's very disorienting, and you gotta look, which way was I facing again? They're so fucking bad, and there's so fucking many of them. That's like the biggest thing that annoys me about this game, because the first game I thought was very good It wasn't like amazing, but I really enjoyed it. The second game I liked a little less because the things they added weren't super successful, like the side missions and the open world structure. And then this game, they kept all the same stuff I didn't love as much from the second game and doubled down on the worst parts of the game. The close quarters combat, the underwater sections, the side missions, the town exploration, which takes forever. Like, I don't get why they did this. I don't get why they did this in this game. And it bums me out because I want to love this series and I just can't. I can't say anything more about it than like it's decent. So that's my thing about fucking Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That's not true. I have more stuff. So one thing that you will get to with these new enemy types, they're leaning more heavily into like spooky vibes in this game, which I do enjoy. I don't like scary games. I don't like to be scared, but it adds an extra element of interest to me because the whole thing was feeling a bit bland. And so like that they're leaning into like some scary stuff, I enjoy. Because in the second one, it was all the like Asian samurai, whatever. And there was an element of like otherworldliness and curses and stuff. But this one, it's more like tribal creatures and, you know, South American gods and, you know, cults and rituals and that kind of vibe. So that part of it is really interesting because the character stuff I'm not connecting with whatsoever. They're trying to build Lara and Jonah more as characters and build that relationship, and it's just not working for me because this is the third game, and just now you're really diving into that. There's a sequence like early on in the game where they sit down at the fire and they're kind of like just talking about where they are, and Jonah goes on this whole fucking story about his dead brother, and like I'm like, who? Why do I give a shit? Like, I barely know who you are. Like, why do I care about this? So it's just, I don't know. The character stuff's certainly not working for me.
Yeah, they're leaning really heavily into Jonah and Lara's relationship in this game. And it's like he's barely a character.
It's too little too late, man. Like, this is the third game. And I know he's been in all of them, but it's still just, it's not working. Not working for me. So I'm trying to, I mean, I don't want to be overly negative about it. Like, I'm not wasting my time or trying to rush through it or anything, but I am a little bit, like, just trying to get through it, and then I can move on to some other stuff. So, I don't know. Anything else from you on it?
I just think it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't control well. And, like, in a world where The Last of Us exists, like, and Uncharted exists, the way, how bad their animation transitions are, it's bad.
Yeah.
And you're like totally right. She looks like a plastic doll in this one.
Yes, it's creepy.
Yeah.
It's creepy looking because she has no lines on her face. Everyone else looks like a human being, and she looks like a plastic doll. It's creepy. But one other thing I forgot. I'm just shitting on this game now. But it's bringing up Uncharted and Last of Us. Like, this game obviously is trying to take as much as it can from Uncharted and Last of Us.
Oh, you're talking about where you play as little Lara?
Yeah, the flashback. Yeah. That was, like, there were elements of it that were cute, and I liked the puzzle.
Yeah,
the
me
puzzle
too.
stuff that you did I thought was pretty cool. But it was so fucking cheesy.
Yeah.
Like, the writing in that was so not good. And, like, the little thing at the end with the dad, and, like, it was so melodramatic and corny. I was, like, rolling my eyes super hard, and that hasn't come back up.
No,
like, I don't know if we're gonna get more of that, but like, that was a one-off thing, at least where I am right now. And if that's the case, that is so pointless for them to spend all this time developing this new area, a smaller character model, all this shit for a one-off thing. So I'm gonna assume it'll come back at some point. It has to. It's too random.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's competent. It's a competent video game. It's just that the stuff that they focused on in this are not the things that they should have focused on. That's my opinion. I also played the first episode of Life is Strange Season 2. So, obviously, I was a huge fan of Life is Strange Season 1. Did not like Before the Storm. It had glimpses of brilliance between that relationship with Rachel and Chloe, but not good writing. Not good mechanics. was not a good game. And then I played that, I guess it was like a demo, the Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit.
Yeah, it was like a
which was a
teaser
very
demo.
short little thing. The what? Yeah. And it was cute. It had some elements that I liked from it, but it was fairly forgettable. But at least it was like written by this core team at Don't Nod, so the writing was better. I'm trying to remember back to when I played Life is Strange, and the first episode, because I kind of got into it after the buzz had started about a couple episodes that had come after. And I remember playing the first episode and being like, I don't see what the fuss is about. This writing is not good. It's super, like, lame. It feels like a bunch of 40-year-old white dudes writing for teenage female characters. It just feels corny and over the top and, like, trying way too hard to be, like, hipster. I feel similarly about this first episode, but I'm going to assume that it will get better. It will get better as it goes. The relationship between the two brothers, I think, is very, very good. A lot of that writing is strong and gets stronger as that episode progresses.
Okay.
But it doesn't make a great first impression. It's a lot of, like, people don't talk like this type dialogue between teenagers. And I'm just like, ugh. And my wife was sitting out watching me play because she watched me play Life is Strange. And she started watching me play Before the Storm. And, like, halfway through the first episode, she was like, Shea, I'm sorry. This is, like, I'm embarrassed listening to this dialogue. I can't. So she wanted to check this out. And she wasn't super into it. But she felt the same, where it was like, it wasn't as bad as Before the Storm, but it certainly wasn't as good as the good stuff in Life is Strange Season 1.
Right.
Anyway, it does get better over time. There are a lot of, like, big moments that happen that are really engaging. Some oh shit kind of stuff that happens. So it leans really heavily into some political stuff. And I don't have a problem with that. It's because a lot of, like, racism. Because it's a Hispanic kid and his little brother, and they're kind of, like, out in the world alone due to some circumstances that happen early on in the game. And they just kind of come across strangers. And how those strangers interact with them is very varied. And so the racism thing is a big deal in the game. I think that's good. I think it's an important topic to cover, and especially in this type of game that's very narrative and character focused. I will say that due to the writing, there are a lot of caricatures, a lot of not realistic characters that are super over the top, where I'm like, I get the point you're making because it is banging me over that fucking head with a hammer. Like, you could have made this a little more subtle, basically. So take that for what you will. That's not my favorite aspect of the game, not because I don't think it's important, but just because I don't feel like it's done all that well right now. But there are some other relationships that I think are really, really strong. There's a character they introduced late that kind of acts as like a little bit of a mentor friend to the brothers, and that character is really, really good. That kind of arc with that relationship is very strong from a story perspective. There's less gameplay than in the first game, which may come as a surprise because there wasn't that much gameplay in the first
Right.
game. But it had the whole time manipulation mechanic to kind of do some puzzle solving. And in this first episode, at least, there isn't any amalgamation of that. Like, there's no time manipulation, and in like Before the Storm, there was that whole awful trash talk mini game. There's nothing like that.
So
And
the older
really
brother
only-
hasn't force pushed a car yet? He
I don't
hasn't
wanna get
flipped a
into
police
spoilers.
car?
I mean, that's in a trailer. Yes, that happens.
Okay.
But you play as the older brother. So yeah, I won't go into details of like how that develops. It certainly does towards the ends of the first episode, but so far there has been nothing comparable to the time manipulation or the trash talking game.
Okay.
And so all of the quote unquote gameplay is interactions, and there are big choice moments, obviously, and like walking around. There's no additional gameplay mechanic, and so that makes it feel a little bit slow, maybe. And it took me like 3 hours. And granted, I walked around everywhere. I read all the little extra things. I went in the notebook. I read all the text messages. So you could get through it much faster than I did. But if you want to absorb everything, it was about 3 hours. And it felt like I was ready for it to be over before it was over. So hopefully they add some extra gameplay element that'll make it a little bit more engaging playing through it, where it doesn't just feel like I'm playing a movie, basically. One of the things that I think will be cool is the story is set up in a much more open-ended way. It's like a road trip sort of thing, whereas the first game was like you're just in Arcadia Bay,
right?
And there's the murder mystery kind of lost person story, and you just go around these couple of settings repeatedly throughout the game. And in this, like, I I can already tell the places I visited, I will not be returning to. So that makes it kind of an interesting arc to follow, and I'm curious to see where the story goes. There was one particular... Go ahead, were you going to ask a question?
Yeah, did you... So I've heard at the beginning it asks you if you destroyed or saved Arcadia Bay.
It does.
Which one did you pick?
I let Arcadia Bay be destroyed. I saved Chloe.
Yeah, me too.
And we pieced out.
Okay.
I think I remember that being really split.
It was like
it was like 51 to 49 across like the player base, which is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of big choices like that have serious ramifications for certain characters and things that happen. But it is a bit of it's like The Walking Dead, where it's kind of like a diamond structure, where like you start at one point, it diverges based on your choices, but it's always going to end up at the same point again. And that's just kind of how these games have to be structured. But there's still that kind of like false choice almost, where it's going to happen no matter what, but how you get there might be a little bit different, or the way you get there might be a little bit different. There was actually one... I don't really want to go into spoilers about it. But there was one thing that happened where I didn't plan ahead. And because of that, I had to make a decision that I didn't want to make, but I didn't have another choice. And that really came back later on in the relationship between the brothers, where I was like, fuck, like, damn it. I was so still mad at myself for having fucked up enough to where I had to make that tough, bad choice because it impacted the relationship. So those are the kinds of things that really make these games work when you have those types of choices that really come back to you in a big way. That stuff is meaningful and makes it feel like those quote-unquote big choices really matter. So hoping for a lot more of those, because those are the kinds of things that make, these games really memorable.
Right.
So yeah, really enjoyed the first episode, and hoping that it's not months and months before more of them come out. They haven't announced a release date for episode 2 yet, so I hope it's not like January or something. I hope we get it before the end of the year.
Yeah.
But that's everything I've been playing. So how about I drink some water and you tell me about some stuff you've been watching?
Yeah, just the only other thing I played was Return of the Obra Dinn on PC.
Oh, you didn't write that on the fucking list.
I know.
Bro.
Well, it's because I'm not going to talk about it this episode, because I haven't played enough of it to really be able to talk intelligently about it.
Okay.
I got it so my buddy Cody and I could play it together, because it's a game that we both saw early on in development that we're really excited about playing together. So he and I are going to play some more of that this weekend, hopefully. Mm-hmm. So I should be able to talk a little bit more about it next episode.
Cool.
But in terms of stuff I was watching, so I watched one movie with my wife, and that movie was Jason X, which is the 10th Jason movie, because that was the second to last film in 40s for the spooky Halloween season on GiantBomb.com.
Okay.
It is the 10th Jason movie, and at this point, I can just see in the that writer's room, like, this is the 10th one. What do we do? And the answer is, take him to fucking space.
Oh, God.
It's Jason in space.
Sure.
The movie opens, and, the movie opens, and he's, in some underground research facility, and he's all chained up, and then something stupid happens, and he gets out, and so they, cryo-freeze him with this chick, and then, a couple hundred years in the future, when Earth is destroyed...
Wow.
Yes. So, apocalypse has happened.
This sounds like a movie that I need to see.
Earth is uninhabitable. There is an Earth 2, because we all know that's what we would call the second Earth. Earth 2.
Trademark DC.
Yeah. And so, these scavengers are going through this underground research facility, and they find Jason and the chick, and so they take him out of the cryo unit. And they he fucking regenerates because he's Jason, and he is on the spaceship and he's just killing dudes as he does. He's just really fucking people up, and he's getting his shit fucked up and he's fucking their shit up. And there's the whole movie it's like it's very self-aware. Like it knows what it's doing. Like it's just like teenagers on the spaceship. It's teenagers on a spaceship with Jason. Like there had to be teenagers because it's a Jason movie, but are on a spaceship. Yeah. So the solution is they're just students on from a galactic academy, and so that's why they're on the spaceship. Is there a space
shower scene?
No, there's a bunch of space sex though. Like all, like the teens,
better.
Those teens are fucking. and Jason,
as teens do.
And Jason's not having any of it. And he he doesn't have his machete when he wakes up, so he grabs this like giant surgical instrument that is literally just shaped like a machete. And so he has this like future steel machete surgical instrument he's killing people with. And towards the end,
it's a level 2 machete.
Yeah, and then towards the end, he's like about to kill this guy, and the guy's like, and then he reaches past him and grabs his old machete, and the guy's like, "Oh, all you wanted was your machete, of course." So, and he gets on the intercom and he's like, "Guys, it's fine. All he wanted was his machete." And then Jason kills him. Like fuck it, it's full of really dumb shit. Really dumb shit. And for some reason, because there are like military personnel on this spaceship with these students for reasons. And so they have like this machine shop, and there's a giant like drill with a giant screw. And this dude Jason throws this dude onto the screw, and he like gets impaled on it, and his body spins and like goes down the drill thing. And then later some chick walks up to him and she's like, "He got screwed."
I'm watching this. Watching this movie.
This movie's fucking nuts. Also, I'm really disappointed because I have every Film in 40s movie on Blu-ray. Jason X, there is no Blu-ray option with Jason X. So I'm very sad.
Just real quick, because I'm looking this up on IMDb.
Yeah.
I am shocked to learn that this came out in 2001.
Yes.
This movie's old. I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah.
Also, that the dude that plays Jason Voorhees also plays Uber Jason? Are there two Jasons?
So that's kind of a spoiler.
Oh boy. Well, because I'm looking at the cover of it, and it looks like there's two Jasons. There's like old hockey mask Jason, and then there's like futuristic Marvel supervillain looking mask Jason.
So I'm just gonna spoil it. Spoiler alert, because it's on the cover.
Yeah.
Jason dies, and then Jason comes back.
You're fucking right, he does.
Made of metal. It's like fucking. It's what is it? Like Uber Shredder when he like comes out of
That's
the trash
what it looks
pile.
Like. Yeah,
he's
looks like
Uber
Shredder.
Jason.
Yeah.
And there's there's a shot towards the end where like they finally get out in this escape pod thing, and they're watching the ship get blown up through this porthole, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's coming this way!" And Jason from the explosion is blasted directly at them. It's
because there's no gravity in space, man. He's riding
the blast
explosion
wave towards their escape pod. Oh man. And then some other dude who was outside in like an EVA suit, like in the worst green screen imaginable, like swings across at the last second and intercepts Jason in what I can only describe as a hilarious shot.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
this all sounds really good.
And there's an android.
Okay.
So it's got all the hits.
Is that KM14?
You better believe it is.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cast list.
She gets some, let's call them upgrades during the movie.
Oh, yeah, baby.
I'm pretty sure the director watched The Matrix.
Unsurprisingly, I'm not really recognizing any of these actors that are in this movie.
I would hope it was their first and last option. Yeah, this one chick who's in it, she's like, I wouldn't even cast her in one of my high school shows. She's just so melodramatic. Man, she's bad. Woo, she's bad. But she like takes her top off or something. I don't know.
That's all that matters. That's all she did in her audition.
To the casting director, that's all that mattered.
Yeah, you got the gig.
She signed that waiver.
So there are 2 credited writers for Jason X. The first writer, Todd Farmer.
Probably should
Jason
have
X,
stuck with his namesake occupation.
Jason X is actually his first credited writing gig. Since then, he wrote The Messengers and My Bloody Valentine, which are horror movies. And he also wrote Drive Angry, the classic Nick Cage joint. So anytime that he can get involved with some Nick Cage, his career is going where it needs to go. And he currently has a film called Trick in pre-production, which I'm going to assume is going to be a really bad B-horror movie. Also credited as a writer is Victor Miller. His credits include, let's go back here. Holy shit, he's fucking old. He's got a writing credit from 1952. Is he alive? He was born in 1940. He's an old man. But
he was old enough to know better.
So his writing credits, he wrote the original Friday the 13th in 1980. Okay. All right. He wrote Part 2, Part 3, The Final Chapter, A New Beginning, Jason Lives, Part 6, Part 7, Part 8, Jason X, obviously, he created the characters, so he's a credited writer. He didn't actually write the script. Gotcha. That belonged to Mr. Farmer.
Okay.
He wrote Freddy vs. Jason, Jason versus Leatherface, Michael vs. Jason, the 2009 Friday the 13th, An Unfortunate Friday the 13th, as well as the Part 2, Return of Jason, Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, An Unfortunate Friday the 13th Part 3, Part 4, Horror Movie the Movie. Horror Movie the Movie. That's a title. Friday the 13th, The Revenge. Friday the 13th, Wanted Legend. Friday the 13th, The Game, obviously. As well as the previously announced 2020 releasing Friday the 13th. Beyond those, he also wrote episodes on All My Children and General Hospital. And that is his entire writing credit series. So every Friday the 13th movie and All My Children and General Hospital, which are soap operas, for those that aren't aware. So that's interesting. And then finally, director James Isaac has 5 credits as a director. Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater, which was a TV series that aired 1 episode. Jason X, aforementioned. Skinwalkers, which is a very good name for a horror movie, and the even better titled horror movie, Pig Hunt. In 2008. So he hasn't worked since 2008, which probably isn't great.
I have directed more things than he has.
Yeah. So clearly a quality film. Jason X. 2001's Jason X.
Rip-roaring good time.
I am going to watch that at some point. It sounds like it might not be super easy to get a hold of, but I feel like I need to watch it now.
Yeah, Amazon Prime, you can rent it on there. Okay. That's how we watched it.
Kelly always wants to watch horror movies, so here we go.
Yeah. I mean, you can get it on
Boy,
DVD.
is she going to be surprised.
Yeah. You should... Oh, man. Just don't say anything. Just be like, I finally found a horror movie that I'm willing to watch. Kyle said he watched it and he really liked it, so I thought we should watch it together. And then just don't even tell her what it is. Oh, boy. Beyond that, the wife and I have started watching Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix.
Yes.
We're halfway through episode 8, I believe, so we're a good bit of the way through. We're enjoying it for the most part. Some of the characters, because it's like teenagers, some of the characters are just very annoying. I mean, they're written accurately. They are teenagers, which is why teenagers should never be characters in a movie or show. I work with them every day, and they are horrible. So these are written accurately as actual teenagers.
Right.
Yeah, some of the occult stuff is fun. It's a lot darker than I thought it would be. I didn't realize that this was originally a graphic novel. So this is a Netflix adaptation of a graphic novel, not Sabrina the Teenage Witch, This is not a new take on that.
That's what I first thought when I saw the title, and I was
me
like,
too. Yeah. And then like the intro looked like graphic novel stills, and I was like, oh, is there a comic? And I looked it up. Sure enough, there is. So this is a TV show adaptation of the graphic novel. So it's a little different. It's way darker,
but it's self-serious
most of the time.
Okay.
Yes. There's plenty of levity, but there are definitely.
But like it's not a satire or like a funny take. It's a serious show.
Correct. Yeah.
Huh. And is it good or is it like a guilty pleasure good? Because when I saw this, it seemed like a CW show. Like it looked like a bad teen drama show.
No, it's better than that.
Okay.
I like a lot of like the witch stuff, the occult stuff is very melodramatic, just because like it's kind of playing on classic tropes of that. But I don't know. There's good stuff in there. I don't know that it's necessarily like I wouldn't rate it as a guilty pleasure. I think there's merit to it.
Is it a procedural show or is it serialized?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Huh.
For the most part, it is serialized, but there are procedural elements.
And it's not like a scary show. It's just kind of like spooky subject.
There's actually there've been some sequences that were actually pretty creepy.
All right.
Yeah, like that's what has shocked me the most about it so far. I wouldn't say it's necessarily as scary as Haunting of Hill House, but like there are moments that are unsettling and like done really well. Like it clearly has a good budget. And like a lot of the filmography, thankfully, like the pilot episode had a lot of like this weird, like the screen was stretched and the edges were fuzzy in a lot of the shots. And thankfully, they kind of stopped doing that because it was way, they were using it way too much. So thankfully, they kind of laid off on that a bit because that was bothering me. But yeah, I think it's got a good cast of characters, supporting characters that are kind of around her, and she does a better than serviceable job as the main character, Sabrina. So she has two aunts. She lives with two of her aunts, and one aunt, Aunt Zelda, is played by the chick who plays Éowyn in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
And then the other chick is the funny, kind of heavyset British lady from Shaun of the Dead.
Yep.
If you remember.
She played Pam on The British Office.
Yes. Also played Pam on The British Office. Yes. So she's in it, and she's hilarious. I was going to say,
she's super fucking funny. She's in Wonder Woman, and she was amazing in Wonder Woman. Like, very small parts, obviously, but she was really, really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she does a really nice job, too. And then I have not seen him before, but he's a British black actor, and he does a nice job, too.
Okay.
Yeah, like, there are a lot of pretty decent actors in there. We were very confused about the time period in which it took place because, like, it's this, like, mountain town, kind of, like, secluded town, and so all the architecture...
Like South Park? Little mountain town.
Yes, exactly. And so all the buildings are really old, and people are driving cars, like, from the 50s. Like, all the cars are just from the 50s, but they all look new. And then the black British guy, like, opens up a laptop, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then later, Sabrina's boyfriend, she's talking to him on, like, this payphone, like a payphone for the house. And then he's on, like, an iPhone X. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what town is this?
Weird.
It was super weird.
Maybe it's just maybe it's supposed to be like a fantasy version of reality.
I think so. It has to be.
That seems weird, but it's not explained.
No, they don't address it.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Well, I guess they wouldn't address that. Hey, we live in an alternate universe, but there's no, like, it's not there. There aren't enough differences,
like, political stuff, like, to, like, be able
Right,
to
to
know
actually
when it's
set it.
taking place.
Yeah.
It's just very strange. Very strange.
Maybe there'll be some like big twist at the end regarding that.
Where
Like
it's
it'll be like
all
the village.
times converged on one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Interesting.
odd. But yeah, we're enjoying it. 'Tis the season and all that. What about
Well,
you?
yeah, maybe I'll let Kit, because I obviously told her about Haunting of Hill House and that you recommended it and she should check it out, and she was kind of like lukewarm on. I think she started it and it was too scary for her to watch by herself. So maybe this will be a little more up her alley, because she likes. Obviously, I'm not saying this is a trash show, but she likes a lot of those CW style. Like she loves Gossip Girl and The Hills and that kind of teen drama show. So maybe if this is a higher quality of that, plus it has a little bit of the spooky vibes.
Yeah, this feels more in line, quality and writing wise, with like Stranger Things.
Really?
It's not as good as Stranger Things, but it's not. I'm just saying, like, it's not CW quality.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yes,
Right.
absolutely. I get that. So we finished Making a Murderer Part 2. It's hard to kind of talk about because I don't want to like reveal what happens, even though it's real life. So you can't really have spoilers for real life. But
Right.
yeah, man, it's just what a fucking wild ride the whole thing has been. It's like good things will happen and then they're completely destroyed, and then you start to get hope and then that gets destroyed, and it illuminates so much of what is wrong with our judicial system from both perspectives, of like where things are stacked against the people, but then also how many inefficiencies there are, how many loopholes there are for those people to get around things. And it's just like it's broken from both ends is what I'm trying to say. And that's just like, it's terrifying and also fascinating, but mostly terrifying. And without spoiling things, I would anticipate there will be a part 3 at some point. So it's weird to say like I'm going to avoid learning about Stephen Avery and Brendan and what happens in real life, because I would rather watch the documentary about it than like actually find out, just because the documentary is so well done and paced so well, and like little things that happen that you don't think are important, they kind of like sprinkle it's almost like it's a drama. Like they sprinkle information early on and then it comes back when it is important. And like that's how well written television is done, but this is reality. It's just it's a weird thing. Weird kind
the
of
benefit
melding
of writing a documentary like this after the fact.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, a lot of the events of this were from like, all the way from 2014-ish or 2015-ish. Like the part 2 starts where part 1 ends, like literally. Like it opens with, here's the aftermath of the Netflix documentary that Making a Murderer, and that stuff's really, really cool to see. We're obviously still watching The League. We're like halfway through season 5, so we're going really fast through it. They're only like 13 episode seasons, so we go through pretty quick. But I've actually been using it as my crutch to not deal with real life things. So like if I get errands and stuff, like even with my phone, I needed to call Sprint and like go to the store and get the stuff set up, and I didn't fucking want to. So instead I just watched 3 episodes of The League, and then oops, it's 8:30, it's too late, sorry, I'll do it tomorrow. I was doing that a lot. I was able to get my phone, so at least I not manned up, it's a sexist term, I adulted up and got my iPhone. But I've been using it to not do research on a home mortgage, which is probably more important than getting my iPhone, but I have not done that yet. And we're trying to buy a house in February before my wife gives birth in March. It's gonna be a disaster. But we'll see. Maybe it'll be fun. Yeah.
Check your sewage pipes.
Yeah. And then finally, we started most recent season of Top Chef, which, we kind of go back and forth with our competition shows. And this is our last season of our competition shows. So, like, the most recent season of Project Runway we recently watched. The most recent season of So You Think You Can Dance we watched. And now this is the most recent season of Top Chef. And those are our core 3 shows. So now when we finish the show, we have to wait, like, a year for the new seasons of those shows to come out. And I don't know what we're going to do. Because we always have one of these competition shows because we were so far behind on everything that we just constantly would go back and forth between them. And now we won't have one. And I'm going to be really bummed. But one quick story about this show, this season, there was a circumstance because so they do an initial challenge, and the winner of that challenge gets immunity for the big challenge. It's pretty typical structure for these kinds of shows. The dude won immunity in the initial challenge, and then it was a team challenge for like the big one. And his team lost, partially because the dish that he made was the worst dish of everybody. And so his dish, it was not like the other two made good dishes. They also made bad dishes, but his was the worst. And so he was like, my team lost because of me. I have immunity. That's not fair. So he gave up his immunity, and then they cut him. Like, it wasn't, you might anticipate like, hey, I'm going to give up my immunity. And they're like, hey, that's a really cool move. We're still going to cut one of your teammates for blah, blah, blah. But no, they fucking cut him then. So he gave up his immunity, and then he got kicked off of the show. And he was a really good chef too. Like, he had a chance to win. Like, that's fucking ballsy. And there was actually a circumstance where, this was a couple seasons ago, where it wasn't due to immunity, but they did a team challenge called Restaurant Wars, which is like two teams, like I think a team of 4 or a team of 5 versus another team of 4 or 5, and they open a restaurant. Like, they come up with the concept, the menu, they design the sitting room, and they always have like an executive chef who kind of runs the kitchen. They have a front house person who makes the dish but also runs, they're kind of the manager. And then one team wins and one team loses, and the team that loses, somebody gets cut. And typically the team that loses, the executive chef gets cut because they're kind of running the whole thing. In this circumstance, this chick's team lost. She was the executive chef, but everything she did was really good, and other people on her team were responsible for her team losing. And they were going to cut someone else. And she said, hey, I was the executive chef. You should cut me. And so they did. And she was the best person on the show. And so they cut her because she asked to be cut because of that, which is fucking crazy. But they have a behind-the-scenes, like, digital online web series where people that get cut get to compete against each other for the opportunity to return to the show in the final. She got cut pretty early on. She beat, like, 6 or 7 people and got back on for the final and then fucking won it. So she got cut, did all this behind the scenes, like the losers bracket, you would call it, and got back on the show and fucking won, which is pretty nuts. I'm not convinced the guy that got cut from giving up immunity this season will be able to do that, because he'll have to beat even more people than she did. But that would be pretty funny to, like, because they always reveal who the person was, because they don't show you on the show. You have to watch online. And so it'd be pretty funny if, like, they do the big reveal of who comes back and it's fucking him. Would be pretty nuts. But yeah, it's just something about, I know I've talked about this a bunch of times, but these competition shows that are about the talent and not the drama, those are what I really like. The dancing shows, cooking shows, all that kind of shit. I get a lot out of. So yeah, that's kind of all the stuff I've been watching. I know you've been reading some stuff as well. Yeah,
so I did finish Thrawn Alliances. And I know we were kind of waiting on me to finish it to determine whether or not they were really billing Thrawn as like an anti-hero or not.
Right.
And I think they definitely are, because like constantly Vader's questioning his like loyalty to the Empire and the Emperor, and like Thrawn's always like, well, I don't see why it has to be one if it can also be to my people. If I'm always doing things that serve both the Chiss Ascendancy and the Empire, I don't see why it has to be one or the other. And Vader's like, no, it's the Empire.
Right.
Like, you have to, you will, or I will kill you. And so it's always like Thrawn, like, trust me and we'll do this and this and that. And then it turns out that like all of the things that he's doing have always benefited both the Empire and the Chiss Ascendancy, and so it's like he's always still kind of playing for his team, and it doesn't really resolve that particular conflict, but it just like it gives you, the resolution is that it gives you more information about their new version of Thrawn, and then also almost positive that Thrawn knows Anakin is Vader. Gotcha. Which is like a big thing.
Yeah.
Because no one is allowed to know besides the Emperor. Like no one in the galaxy knows, and Thrawn just fucking figured it out because he's Thrawn, which is cool. And then I started
real quick, for my context, because this sounds like something that I will want to read because it's Timothy's on. It sounds like it's good. Is this related to anything else, or is it its own standalone book?
It's its own standalone book. I will say, if you're questioning, so are you questioning whether or not you want to read it?
Well, I know I want to read it. I guess I'm trying to
Okay.
see, like, do I need additional context to get more out of it?
I don't
Because
think so.
I haven't.
Have you
I haven't
not
been
read the
introduced
first
to
Thrawn
new
book?
Thrawn. Is there another new Thrawn book?
So there was Thrawn by
Right.
Timothy Zahn, and
I
now
have not
Thrawn
read that.
Alliances is the second one.
Okay,
so I would read
should
the
read
first
Thrawn
Thrawn
first.
book first.
Got it.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that has more of like an origin story for Thrawn.
Sure.
I believe.
How they bring him into the new canon.
Yeah, if I'm remembering that correctly. And then this is more of like more context for his character.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out.
There are a lot of really fun action sequences in that too.
Mhm.
I think Timothy Zahn always finds ways to make that
He's
stuff
awesome.
interesting. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
He continues.
He
to
should
be
write
good.
every Star Wars book. Especially
Yes.
because a lot of the other Star Wars writers are bad.
Yeah, every other Star Wars book of the new canon has been mediocre at best. So, his
Yeah,
are
I've
by
only
far
read a
the best.
couple, and I haven't been impressed by any of them.
I've read every single one of them, apart from Star Wars Most Wanted, which is like another
the Han
side,
Solo.
another side story of like early
Yeah.
Han Solo.
Yeah. Did you read the Aftermath trilogy?
Yeah, I did like those. They're not as good
Right.
as what Zahn does, but
Because those were going to be my next ones. But if I can get those Thrawn books, I might want to check those out instead, just because I know I'm going to get quality from Timothy Zahn.
yeah. What was the other one that I really?
Because I read
it was either Bloodlines or Lost Stars that I really liked. That was another really good one.
Bloodlines was the that was Vader and the Emperor. Like they get trapped on a planet. Was that Bloodlines?
Maybe. Lost
I've read a couple.
Stars, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the one I'm talking about is the one where there's these two kids that grow up on a planet together, and one becomes an Imperial and the other becomes a rebel.
That's not Bloodlines.
Okay,
I don't think.
like they
'Cause I
go
think
to
I read
like
that.
Imperial Academy together, but then she like defects or something, and it's kind of like it's their back and forth. That's really, really interesting. And I think is written well. Like their relationship is written really well.
I have not read Bloodlines, so that might be it. I'm thinking of a Jango Fett comic book series called Blood Ties,
Yes.
which is not the same. So that it very well might be. The ones
Also,
that I have read,
the Vader. Because I remember reading a Vader and Emperor stuck on a planet thing.
that is Lords of the Sith.
Yes. Okay.
And that one,
I
it was
did read
okay. It wasn't. It
was
was
fine.
not. It was not great. And then I also read Heir to the Jedi, which was a Luke Skywalker side story one, which was also like
which was
very
also
average.
fine. Yeah.
Reviews of those are on SheaHatesEverything.com in case anyone wants to check that out. But I also got Dark Disciple a while ago, which is a it has Asajj Ventress and oh shit, what's his name? Quinlan Voss and Asajj Ventress. Because that's key. Quinlan Voss is the kind
Yes,
of he
I
like,
did
went
read
to the
that
dark
one as
side
well.
for a while. Was that any
Yeah.
good? Because
It
that
was okay. It was okay.
It spun out of the Clone Wars show, which I never finished.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to finish that first before reading it.
I always
Anyway.
thought Ventress was pretty one-dimensional in the show
Yeah.
for the most part. I didn't get all the way. I did get all the way through the show. Maybe I felt differently about her by the end, but I'm just not recalling it. And so that book serves to give her more dimension.
Yeah, make her more of an anti-hero because that's
Yeah.
what everything is.
Right.
So anyway, Star Wars books.
Yeah.
They're okay.
Yeah. The Zahn books are very good, though.
Yeah,
and then I
absolutely.
believe it's Lost Stars that I really liked. Lost Stars or Bloodlines, one of the two. And I'm currently almost done with Edge Dancer by Brandon Sanderson. As with all
Okay.
books of his that I read it very quickly because it is so
Right.
fucking good.
Cool.
So this is another one of the Stormlight Archive books. It's a side book dedicated to one of the side characters, who is like one of my favorite characters in the franchise so far. She's hilarious. She's like this little girl who has these powers where, because like the main guy in Stormlight Archives, he's what's called a skybreaker, so he can like fly. Like it's called pulls, so he can like activate 2.5 pulls on himself skyward, and he will levitate, and then he can act like 30, or he calls them lashings, I think. 30 lashings forward, and he'll like fly forward at like light speed.
Okay.
And so it's messing with gravity, and he can also like touch things and imbue it with his power. It's called Stormlight. It's like their mana. He can imbue it with like a little bit of that power, and for a short amount of time, like it will have whatever lashings he applies to it. So he could do all that, and it's super cool. And there's a lot of like really badass stuff that he does with that. And there's this other chick who's all about like weaving illusions made of Stormlight. And she gets like really good with that, but she has like the split personality disorder, because that's how she's able to make these really lifelike recreations of things. And so she's like struggling with different versions of herself later on in the books as she like expands on her powers. And then there's this chick called Lift, or called named Lift, and she's an edge dancer, which coincidentally is the title of the book. And it explores her, so she kind of like has very small appearances, but every time she appears, like, she just says the funniest shit, because she's just like really blunt and kind of crazy, and her view in the world is really like warped by this weird perception and like upbringing that she's had. And her powers are, she can like make it so that nothing like her body does not have friction, so she could just fucking slide everywhere. And like, so like there's like all these stories and legends of the edge dancers of old, who were like the most graceful, lethal people on the battlefield. No one could grab a hold of them, no one could touch them,
and they evolved into sea lions.
No. And like, but then like when she's in battle, like, cause she's still kind of learning, and she's like 14, she's still kind of learning, she slides around on her knees and like uses her hands to like paddle like through the battlefield. Like, oh, it's just a hilarious image. And like, she's just always causing mischief, and she's just really, really funny. So the book is hilarious. Just like the way she calls things, the way she sees the world is so unique. And like, kudos to Brandon Sanderson being able to come up with a character like that.
Sure.
The weird thing about it, though, is that because the book is, it's like, it's third person. Yeah. Okay. It's third person limited, but so you only really get Lift's thoughts, but in third person. Yes. Yeah, that is correct. But, and so a lot, like every time you start a new chapter, a lot of the same concepts, where it's like, she calls him this because this, or this is the way she does that because she's really into eating food, and yada yada. It'll like say that stuff like every chapter, like repeating it. It's like it's like giving me context for her character over and over again in a weird way. I haven't figured out why he's doing it yet. There is a reason, I'm sure.
Interesting.
But I haven't figured out why he's doing it yet. And I'm interested. I have a feeling he's doing it so that when he doesn't do it, it brings attention to something. So I'm just kind of waiting for that shoe to drop. But I'm most of the way through it, because it's like, because his books are like 1,200 pages, small font. This book is just like a couple hundred pages, and it's like a smaller book profile. But yeah, I'm having a really good time with it so far. So anything Brandon Sanderson has written, I highly recommend. I did pick up Legion by Brandon Sanderson, which is its own kind of standalone thing. It's about a person with multiple personality disorder, and how they like talk to themselves, and like how they interact, and who takes control, and all these different personalities, and how they're going about. I don't know what the situation is, but I read the book jacket and I was like, Brandon Sanderson, this sounds interesting. You got me. So I'll read that at some point.
Stormlight Archives, how big of a series is that?
So there are currently a number of books. Let me look. I think it's 2.
Because I know we have talked about this before when I was asking for recommendations about which book series I should check out. And I wanted to do the Prince of Thorns trilogy because it was a trilogy. And it sounded like the Brandon Sanderson stuff, there were a lot more books in that Stormlight Archives. But maybe it was just that he has a lot of different series. I don't remember because
there are 3 so far that are absolutely massive. There's Way of Kings, Oathbringer, and Words of Radiance are the 3 in the main series.
And this is an ongoing, like it's not a
Yes,
trilogy, it's a continuing
correct,
thing.
yeah.
And then there are a couple side story books like Edge Dancer.
So Edge Dancer's the only one.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
There's another series by Patrick Rothfuss, the King Killer Chronicles.
Right.
Who he is 2 books into it now, and there is a side book for that as well.
Okay.
For another side character who is also a small female.
I think you talked about that one several episodes ago. What series am I thinking of that is fucking massive? I thought you had read some series that has like 20 fucking books in it. And a bunch of side stories.
Oh, no, that was a Joe Abercrombie
I don't think that's what it was. Because I think I got you those Joe
he has a no, I bought him. He has a trilogy, and then there's another 3 books that take place in the same universe that are all kind of their own separate things with different side characters. Mm-hmm. Those are the Joe Abercrombie books.
Then maybe it wasn't you. I could have sworn, because I was doing research on like a new fantasy book series, and there was one like big series that I thought you had read, but it was like, it was some author who everything he writes is in the shared universe, and it's a bunch of different perspectives of that universe.
Oh shit.
But I don't remember what it was.
Yes, that actually might. Ooh, I think that's Brandon Sanderson.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think it is Brandon Sanderson. Yeah, because he it was shit. Oh crap! What is her name? What is that character's name? Because
it says Cosmere Universe.
Yeah, it's the Cosmere, and there's it started with a trilogy, and there's a follow-up trilogy to that takes place in like a different time period. Essentially, it's like Western, almost like Western steampunky. Mistborn. Yes, the Mistborn trilogy, and then there's the Alloy of Law trilogy. Alloy of Law, something like that. Maybe that's just the title of one of the books, one of the 3 books in that follow-up trilogy. Yes, and then I believe the Stormlight Archives also take place in the Cosmere.
Yeah, maybe that was my confusion, is like not knowing where to start with Brandon Sanderson. Like if I need to read all his fucking books, or if I can read this trilogy, this Stormlight Archives, because and that's what, because you were saying like he references things in book X that happen in books Y.
It's like a character or an object from those books. He'll bring up like once a book at most. It's just like,
but I won't really miss anything if I don't know what it is.
No, nothing of significance. It's like, because each part of the Cosmere that he has created is self-contained. It's just that it appears that some threads occasionally cross, and there are some things that exist in multiple Cosmeres, or some characters that do.
So it's kind of like, it's more like an Easter egg thing for people that have read all his shit. You get the little vibes, and maybe it's building towards something bigger, but each series you can read and enjoy on its own.
Yeah, and I think you can do it in any order. I think eventually I would like to have read all of the Brandon Sanderson stuff, because there's a talking sword that is in the Stormlight Archives that I guess is from another one of his series. And like it has
when I was just
personality.
Googling it, there was a Mistborn book with a kid holding a giant fucking sword, so maybe that's the sword. I don't know.
No. It's not from Mistborn. It's from a different one of his earlier works, I think.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to help.
I know. He has a series before Mistborn. It's,
Okay.
Just look, like, if you look up all the books that Brandon Sanderson has written, you should just read all of them.
Well, but that was my point. When I was looking for a series to read, you recommended Brandon Sanderson, the Cosmere stuff, and I Googled it and looked at the shit, and I was like, there's no fucking way. There are too many. Everywhere I look, people tell me to start in a different place. And so, like, I don't know. I have no idea what I would read.
So start wherever you want then. Whatever you're in the mood for.
You know me better than that. To just pick a random one and go. Who the hell do you think I am?
Then
I'm not that guy.
Then start with either Mistborn or the other one, because those have already been completed. Because Stormlight Archives is not done yet.
Right. None of this matters because I'm never going to fucking do it.
Come on, bro.
I need to read the Prince of Thorns trilogy. I already have that. And that's by itself, right? Those are only 3 books and that's it.
Correct. Mark Lawrence has published another trilogy that I currently own and have not read. On my books to read shelf, it is Legion by Brandon Sanderson. It is that trilogy by Mark Lawrence, another trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, and Star Wars Most Wanted. And then I have Oblivion Song, first trade, the new Walking Dead trade, the new Descender trade, a Spider-Man anthology, and a Star Wars trade, and then an East to West trade. I have to read all of that stuff.
Well, then we should get back to talking about shit so we can finish the podcast and you can read.
Yeah, that's fair.
So let's talk about some news. There's not a ton, honestly. There was a Nintendo Direct recently where it was focused on Smash Brothers, and they kind of outlined some plans for Smash. So there's going to be DLC. You can buy the season pass, but you're kind of buying it on faith because they haven't really announced everything that's going to be in the DLC. They're doing like character sets, and so they're planning 5 character sets, $6 per set, or $25 for all 6 sets. Wait, no, all 5 sets. As part of that, they announced that the Piranha Plant is going to be a playable character that will be released as DLC, but it'll be free DLC. But you need to get the game early on. Like if you I don't remember this date, but like if you wait too long, then you're going to have to pay for Piranha Plant. And then they announced 2 new fighters. I'm not sure if these will be the final ones or if we'll still have more to come. But Ken is going to be an Echo Fighter of Ryu, so he plays fairly similarly to Ryu, but he's a little bit faster. And they also announced Incineroar, which is the 3rd evolution of Litten from Pokemon Sun and Moon, and he's kind of like a wrestler fire cat guy. And so he has like some extra jump thing. It reminds me of like Fox or Falco, where there's a lot of risk in his like jump moves, where you could totally fuck yourself over if you jump wrong. So he seems like that kind of high risk, high reward type character. But I don't know. At this point, I just feel like there's gonna be like 600 fucking characters in this game. They're just gonna keep announcing them. I don't know who would say, yeah, I need to buy the season pass to get 18 more characters. There's so many fucking characters in this game already. But
and
hey,
still no Waluigi.
Nope. I don't. Who knows? Anything could happen, as we have seen. But I would not hold my breath for a Waluigi fighter.
That little piggy can go wah, wah, wah all the way home, man.
Yeah. And then finally, they put out a trailer for their single-player mode, which is called World of Light. And it is replacing the Subspace Emissary. So you can watch the trailer. I'll have the link in the show notes on SheaHatesEverything.com. But I don't know what the hell this thing fucking is. There's like an overworld map that you like run around it and engage with things. It looks like there might be like puzzles solving and like turn-based strategy RPG mechanics. There's a screen that looked like the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X where you're like selecting a level up token. I don't know what the fuck this World of Light thing is, but it seems like something. So it's fucking weird, essentially. I don't know. But I guess like tangibly in the trailer, I mentioned the overworld map that you can be on. It looks like you're going to be fighting like evil versions of characters. It has some kind of skill or level up system. And in the initial trailer for it, it's like, I wouldn't call it a story trailer because it's too weird, but like the setup, there are a bunch of fucking master hands like flying in, and then they attack all the characters and make them like disintegrate, like a Thanos finger snap kind of disintegrate, and then Kirby escapes, and Kirby lands on some like rock planet and looks over and sees this big like magic kingdom sort of thing. And then there's like making clones of the heroes that are evil versions. It looks fucking Japanese. I don't know. It seems weird. But I'm gonna play it. Like, of course, I'm super interested in checking it out and seeing what the hell this is all about.
It's a bold move to murder every character in a trailer.
Right. Well, they already like fucking killed the shit out of Luigi in that one trailer for the death support trophy thing. All right, so I think it was either last episode or episode before we talked about the PlayStation 1 Classic that Sony was putting out. Releases December 3rd for $99, and they had kind of unveiled a couple of the games, but not the full list. So now we have the full list of all 20 games, and here it is. Battle Arena Toshinden, which I did not know what it was, but it's a fighting game. It's like a polygonal fighting game. Cool Borders 2, which is like a downhill snowboard racing game.
Yeah.
Destruction Derby, which is a kind of combo twisted metal car racing game. Final Fantasy VII, GTA, Intelligent Cube, which is kind of an old school, not even old school because it's kind of 3D-ish, but it's like a platformy puzzle sort of third-person game. The original Metal Gear Solid, Mr. Driller, which I wasn't familiar with, but it spun out of Dig Dug. It's kind of like Dig Dug combined with Tetris. It's like a block clearing kind of digging game. Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, which is awesome. Rayman, which is awesome. Resident Evil Director's Cut. Revelations Persona, which is the first game in the Persona series. It's a RPG. Ridge Racer Type 4 racing game. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, which is a kind of tile matching game. Siphon Filter, which is a third-person shooter. Tekken 3, obviously a fighting game. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, Twisted Metal, and Wild Arms, which is a Western-style JRPG. So, pretty good variety. I would say less than half of those I would consider kind of heavy hitter games. Obviously, Final Fantasy VII, GTA, Metal Gear, a lot of those types of games that are present, but a lot of games that I didn't remember or / like hadn't ever heard of. So, I don't know. Good variety, but maybe not. If you're going to have 20 games, not all of these are ones that I maybe would say yes. Like, not all of these are games that I think people will be
Where is
excited
Crash
about.
Team Racing?
Right.
Where is Crash Bash? Where is Croc?
Croc.
That's the biggest fuck you. And where is Tomba?
Where is Rugrats Search for Reptar?
Oh, hell yeah.
We played so much of that game.
Now
that was a
you're
bad
asking
game.
the real questions.
Yeah.
Where
So anyway.
is that? Where is it?
So, yeah, like I said, good variety for people that want that nostalgia. You're going to get a lot of different style of games and potentially games that you didn't play back in the day. Certainly
Yeah,
a lot
but
of these
is there-
I did not play.
So there's no opportunity to like put more games on this thing?
That was not in the messaging. Like, it seemed like that would be the end of it, is just these 20 games, and they
Like,
wouldn't
what
be
the
adding
hell?
any.
What a weird thing.
Yeah. They're just trying to get that NES Classic money, that SNES Classic money.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, but if you don't want it, don't buy it. Not to give it a pass, because like it certainly seems like maybe they could have got some better games, but I know a lot of it comes down to signing those checks, getting those deals.
Right.
It's not as easy as just saying we want this game in it, therefore it will be in it. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we'll never hear about. There was a new trailer for a No Man's Sky update that is available now, called The Abyss, which is all focused on underwater shit, which just makes me think so much of Minecraft. Like, I feel like this game is like now Minecraft, where they have all these new updates and stuff, and because Minecraft obviously they had that big underwater update. So a bunch of new visual enhancements to underwater areas, new stuff that you can build underwater, as well as like there's submarines that you can take under there, ruins you could find with treasure, new underwater biomes, fauna, creatures, as well as like big predator creatures, which in the trailer there's like a really like a creepy big eyeball one. There's no like huge giant fucking fish. It's like 10 times as big as your character. That seems scary as hell. Underwater shit is terrifying to me. It's so water. Open ocean is so scary. But yeah, it seems cool, and it's it's a free update. It's available now, which is pretty neat. The trailer I thought is pretty successful, kind of like laying out all the new features and functionality, and it also served as a reminder that hey, the music in this game is really fucking rad. I'm sure it gets old because that was one of the complaints is the music's really good, but there's not enough of it, so you hear it too much. But every trailer I see for No Man's Sky, I'm like, dude, this music is fucking kicking. Like, it's just really, really good. So I continue to not ever check out No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
One of these days I will, maybe. But for folks that are playing it, it's pretty awesome that they continue to put out meaningful updates, like tons of brand new stuff to check out and kind of explore.
Right.
So it's good on them for keeping good on that. We got an update on Battlefield 5's post-release plans. So their kind of games as a service model is called Tides of War, is what they have named it. The first release comes out a couple weeks after the game, which comes out on November 20th. It's going to have some new maps, a practice range for weapons and whatnot, and a new single-player mission. And they're doing a similar thing what they did with Battlefield 1, where the single-player story, and I use it in sneer quotes, is kind of like vignettes, different characters, different circumstances that don't really tie to each other.
Yeah,
and
it's
so they're
more
going
of
to add
a tutorial for the multiplayer.
Yeah, so they're going to add one of those a couple weeks after launch. The Phase 2 will be sometime between January and March, which adds Conquest Mode, which is the big 32-player mode, a different co-op mode, as well as like some additional challenges and whatnot. And then in March is when their Battle Royale mode hits, which is called Firestorm. So that won't be coming out for quite a while, which kind of highlights that they made this in response to Fortnite and PUBG and everything, and that they were a little bit late to the party on that.
Yeah,
but
they're like, oh, Call of Duty has one? I guess we have to have one too.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe there are details that I missed, but I didn't see any about the character count of this or, like, the map size or anything, how that relates to what's in Call of Duty, which I think Call of Duty is an 80-person, I think. But anyway, in this March release, there's also going to be a new map in Greece, which is like an aerial combat map. So, link to the Game Informer article that I'll put in the show notes if you're curious about Battlefield 5 and kind of those DLC plans. It certainly seems like they're going to be supporting this game in a major way. The biggest thing will be, will people stick around? Because with Battlefield 1, they didn't. With Battlefront 2, they didn't. So we'll see if they stick around for Battlefield 5.
Right.
Then we got the first reveal of Henry Cavill as Geralt in Netflix's The Witcher show, which it was surprising to me. I'm not sure how I feel about the fact that they're like making it a comedy. It just seems like a weird direction to take on the show, but clearly from what they showed, like it's a funny take. Like it's like a goof take on The Witcher, which just like, I don't know why it doesn't seem to really fit with the character of the world, but it's a direction, I guess. I'm kind of more interested to see like them try to make a comedy out of the show. So we'll see how that goes. No, but in all seriousness, he looks fucking dumb. He looks fucking dumb. Like, it looks like he went and bought his gray wig from your local Halloween costume shop. It's embarrassing looking. And he doesn't have the scar. He doesn't have the beard. He looks like he's 18 years old. It just, all of it seems so wrong. I know it's based on the books where he's younger. Right. I get it.
And it's also possible it takes place before he gets the scar. If the scar is even in the books, I don't know.
But my thing is more like he is unrecognizable as Geralt. And sure, if you want to say it's based on the books or it's a different time period, whatever. But like, this isn't the character that we know as Geralt. And I don't know. It just seems bad. The casting seemed bad.
Yes.
And the look of the character seems bad.
Yes.
The bigger thing that's scary for me is that, because that's been the overwhelming reaction to this. Regardless of what you think, plenty of people think that Henry Cavill is a good fit. Those people are crazy, but they exist. But I have not seen a single person that's like, he looks cool. It has overwhelmingly been, what the hell is this wig that he's wearing? It is so embarrassingly bad. And that leads me to like, why would Netflix release? Because like, they, in order to put this out, it's not like it was a mistake. They thought this looked good. They thought this would get people excited. And that, maybe more than anything, is what is concerning to me. Because I don't know how you can look at that and say, like, we're nailing this, you guys. Thumbs up all around. Because it's bad.
I guess any press is good press, right?
No. Nope. That's an old wives' tale. So,
That's
I don't know, man. It, like... Obviously, we say all these things. We're both going to check it out. You know, like, we're both going to watch the first episode.
Yeah.
But it certainly is not instilling confidence. So, moving on to news. Let's do a Hate of the Week, and then we'll call this an episode. Hate of the Week. So this is a quick one. Okay, so just as a little backstory. On Twitter, when we were developing Dream Riders and going through the Kickstarter, trying to make connections, we did a bunch of like follow for a follow back type of thing to like arbitrarily build our audience, kind of get people to engage with our content. So at one point, I was following like 7,000 people and I had like 9,000 followers. Most of those people are not like super engaged with my stuff. They're only following me because I followed them. But some of them have since, because of that, have gotten engaged with my stuff. But since we've moved on from 100% focusing on Dream Riders, I wanted to kind of cull the herd a little bit. And a lot of the people that I had followed, I didn't give a shit about them whatsoever. They were just people that were engaged with entertainment industry stuff. Pardon me. And as I've been going through that process of unfollowing a lot of people, it's illuminated to me the people that I was following and certain accounts that I was following. Because when I went through it, it was like almost an automated process where like I used an app to get a list of recommended people to follow, people that were engaged with the topics that I was talking about and that would follow me back. And so I just went follow. I wasn't even looking at who the fuck they were. Turns out a lot of them were Justin Bieber fans and One Direction fans. And it was obviously I'm unfollowing all those folks, and if they unfollow me, who cares? But it's been quite funny because every once in a while something really fucking weird will come out where like I was following a porn aggregator Twitter account. It was like it was like at porn news, and I was like, oh god, like why was I even following this account?
I gotta have my finger to the pulse of porn.
Exactly.
What's the latest and greatest of fucking?
So that part of it's been funny. But another thing that has come out, which is, you know, it's not like it actually makes me angry. It's more just like, this is stupid and sad, are people that brag that a celebrity followed them on Twitter. And not just like tweeting out, like Justin Bieber fans. Not even just like tweeting out, OMG, J Biebs followed me, heart emoji. But instead, like in their bio on Twitter, it'll say, Justin Bieber followed me October 31st, 2006. Like, that's their bio. That's it.
Well,
like,
see, it's a good thing that's their bio, because then you immediately know that you don't have to waste your time talking to these people.
That's fair. But it's like, it's sad. And obviously, I'm assuming a large portion of these are like teenage girls, which is a whole other reason to be unfollowing them. But because like in your Twitter bio, right? It's how do you want to present yourself to the internet, right? So like building your brand, or like even if you're just a person, you're not trying to use it to market yourself. It's a description of who you are as a person. What are people that look at your Twitter feed going to get from your shit? And that they would think that that's the thing that means the most to them. That if there's one thing about me that you should know, it's that Justin Bieber followed me on October 31st, 2006. 99% chance he's not still following you, but at one point he was. And that's that's very sad. So like, okay, my profile, right? My Twitter bio is husband, gamer, drummer, actor, writer, with a link to Dream Riders and SheaHatesEverything.com. And that's mine. It's like who I am, little bit of personality, and that's what it is. That's the brand I'm trying to build. What fucking brand is this chick building? Justin Bieber followed me 10/31/06. It's sad. And that's why it's end of the week.
Yeah.
So let's close this baby out with some positivity. So I'll say that my positive thing for the day is that Matt Damon followed me on Twitter in September. Jeez. No, it's that we're going to Blue Ridge this weekend. It's a place that we really love to spend time in. It's gonna be some good quality time with the wife. Getting a massage. Gonna get to go downtown Blue Ridge, buy some snacks. They got a really good chocolate shop there, and that we got to bring Beamer with us. So it's gonna be super fun to just chill and relax and probably watch some of the league while we're there and just kind of enjoy the hills. What about you?
Yeah, so I don't hate that I'm about to make a ton of progress on the set this weekend for the fall play. I have tomorrow right after school, and then Saturday from 10 to 3. Since the last event that had to take place in the theater before the show is done, that happened at the time of this recording.
Gotcha. So now you can do all your shit.
Yeah, so now I can progress past mid-stage and actually get all the walls up. So
when's the show?
November 15th, 16th, and 17th. So
you don't have that much time.
No, I really don't.
It's a good thing you're going to be able to get a lot done because it sounds like you need to.
First public performance is in 2 weeks from today. So, and then we have in-school performances the 2 days prior to that. So, yeah, that's the blade of the guillotine precariously swinging.
And then when you come home, you can play some Red Dead, nice and relaxing. And maybe Fallout 76. I don't even know if it'll be online or not. But
yeah, who knows?
Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And Kyle, as always, thank you for joining me. I was very tempted to make the thanks for watching joke again.
It was a real classic.
I'll refrain. But as I kind of mentioned throughout, SheaHatesEverything.com. It's my website. I will have the show notes for this episode with all the links to the news we talked about. Check that out. And maybe some of the other stuff that I wrote, like my Star Wars Heir to the Jedi review. Topical. All right, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.